What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto made harem with female dragon? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Naruto's mood could be described as pure vengeful rage. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze is a member of Team 7 teammates Sasuke Uchiha, the last loyal Uchiha of Konoha, but in Naruto's opinion Sasuke is nothing but arrogant, and had a great disregard for teamwork and is also getting taught privately by Kakashi Teme. My second teammate is Sakura Haruno no clan background and a loyal fangirl and president of the Sasuke Uchiha fan club. She is another lost cause. All she does is oogle Sasuke and screech like a fucking banshee who always berated me every chance she got, but every time she attacked me I knocked her down on her fat forehead. I wondered what I ever saw in that bitch. She's nothing but a Uchiha whore and a disgrace to a kunoichi's profession. Sakura was one of the girls who was nice to him at first, but after her parents found out about me her father told me to stay away from me and I was a demon. But she always listens to whatever her parents say, so the next day I meet her she screeches demon. And from that day on she tried every time when I was alone to abuse me and torment me along with Ino and the rest of Sasuke's fangirls, thinking I would submit. Sasuke was always thinking of ways to humiliate me, but he didn't train to exhaustion like me and practiced jutsu after jutsu until I could do them sealless. He also didn't take in account my ultimate defense that Kenshiro said was stronger than Shukaku's Cantainer's ultimate defense. As for Sakura, she thought Sasuke kept letting me win and kept telling her parents and other people who saw me as Kyuubi what I did. But every time a mob gathered I beat them all to a heap of broken bones and flesh, leaving them on the ground to suffer after calling them hypocrites, and that my father is rolling in his grave right now about his treatment. But she thought I was normal and she was stronger than me. PFFT, yeah, right from the time I was living at the orphanage at age 3 I found out the fox was in me, and let's say he wasn't the demon everyone portrayed him to be, he was like a brother to me. Flashback 6 years ago. June 10, 1998. Naruto Uzumaki is annoyed with the other orphans, patrons and civilians who sneer at him, but he unleashes killing intent on them to scare them off. But Naruto kept wondering why they called him a demon. He doesn't think there's anything demonic about him. He closes his eyes and thinks back to October 10th, and then his eyes widen to the size of dinner plates. He realizes he was the one who the Yondaime sealed the demon fox into. His thoughts darken slowly till the space around turns intangible from the Sannin level, killing intent flaring around him. Then all of a sudden a black and red aura flares largely around him. He notices and he feels calm and more powerful. He thinks for a few more minutes and then remembers about the Kyuubi and sits cross-legged and meditates. He suddenly feels a pull and slumps his shoulders. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto wakes up and feels water. He gets up to his feet and looks forward to see a large golden gate with the seal for the Shikifuin as the lock. "Hey fox, you in there? I want to speak to you," said Naruto in curious voice, but before he could ask again, he sees a giant fox, crimson-orange fur, 9 giant tails flowing behind it. Naruto also notices its eyes are crimson with a slanted slit in the middle. He looks past its eyes and is shocked. The 9 tails' eyes hold sadness and worry, also anger. "Anyo ni-san, are you okay? Why are you sad?" said a concerned Naruto. The fox looks down at Naruto and lowers his head and peers into Naruto's soul and is flabbergasted. This kid's aura is more powerful than his creator's. "Why do you call me older brother? What have I done to deserve such a title?" asks Kyuubi, clearly interested in a Cantainer's decision and angered at these ignorant humans' hate of the blonde. "Because I don't believe you are as bad as these dumb bakas say you are. Besides, you kept me safe since I was a baby," said Naruto in a kind tone, wondering why would a demon fox bother with Konoha when it isn't in his nature to attack others. Kyuubi lets a tear drop and smiles at his little brother. "Thank you kid, I guess it's in my kitsune nature to protect ones you see as family," said Kyuubi in a low tone. Naruto smiles, but then he asks, "Kyuubi, why did you attack Konoha? I know it wasn't out of hate or fun," asked Naruto in a voice that made him sound older. "You are correct kid, I didn't do it out of those two you said. I was just sleeping when all of a sudden I saw a red eye with 3 spinning tomos, and after that I blacked out." Excalimed Kyuubi. Naruto is silent for a moment. "Red eye, 3 spinning tomos, let's see if I can materialize something in here," thought Naruto as he conjured a book on the description of that eye. He reads the first 5 pages, But then his eye turns black and gold with a slanted pupil as his aura rises 100 feet into the air in rage and disintegrates the book he holds from the intense power he is unleashing. "Kid, what's wrong? Did you find out something?" asked Kyuubi in a concerned voice. He shivers from the feel of Naruto's aura. It was godly and cold. Naruto calms down and opens his eyes, but his eyes still hold lots of anger and rage, and says, "Sorry Ni-san, I just found out who controlled you, and his descendant is a clan heir," said an angered Naruto. Kyuubi becomes curious, but his eyes narrows slightly but speaks in a low voice. "Who was it, kid? Who was the one that did this to me?" asked Kyuubi, as he wants to know what idiot did this. Naruto spits the name out like venom: Madara Uchiha, rival of the Shoden Hokage. As he said this, the room floods with killing intent that made Naruto whistle. "Damn, whoever you are, Madara, you just pissed off the wrong fox," thought Naruto. Somewhere in aim, a certain one-eyed masked Uchiha lets out a shiver and looks around. "I feel like someone just walked over my grave. I hope whoever it is isn't near," thought Madara as he walks to his hideout. "That damn clan of traitors. Kid, listen to me, if you are put on that team with the clan heir, I want you to show him to not mess with us," said an enraged Kyuubi, as he thinks on what to train Naruto in. He looks at Naruto and goes over some ideas. His body is built for speed, power and precision. Looks like he will be the second successor of the Hokuto and Nanto styles, thought the nine-tailed fox. Kyuubi decides to make Naruto the most powerful fighter in the universe. "Naruto, I would like to train you in my two fighting styles, Hokuto Shinken and Nanto Saiken, but before that we need to build your strength, speed and precision for you to use them," said Kyuubi in sensei mode. He then begins to transform before Naruto's eyes. A few seconds later he is in his human form. Kyuubi could be described as a 21-year-old. He is wearing black jeans with a brown belt, ninja sandals, a short-sleeved jacket with a red undershirt, black eyes with black slick spiky hair. His muscles could be described as muscular and large, obviously built for the things as Naruto. Naruto quirks an eyebrow in amazement. "Ni-san, is that you? Wow, you're very muscular in your human form." Kyuubi smiles. "Thank you, little brother. Since I am going to train you, I shall tell you my name. It is Kenshiro, Grandmaster of the Hokuto and Nanto styles. Now to begin training, but before we begin we will need to find out your affinity," says Kyuubi, as he pulls out a chakra paper and hands it to Naruto. Naruto pushes chakra into the card and watches as the 1/3 of it is ripped to shreds. The bottom crumples into a very tight ball, the right side crumbles into dirt, the left burns with white flames. But as Naruto was about to speak, his eyes widen to the size of dinner plates, as the whole card turns into golden sand. Kenshiro and Naruto stare at it before both brothers let out a shit-eating grin and says, "Looks like I have an affinity for windfire and earth, also the bloodline of the Kage," said Naruto in astonishment. Kenshiro nods. "Yes, all of them powerful as the Ichibi's control over sand and wind. Looks like you're gonna have a lot of training. But first make the ram hand sign and say Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, make 2,000 of them and send to do elemental training for windfire and earth," explained Kenshiro, as Naruto nods and makes the ram sign and shouts, "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." Naruto looks and sees 2,000 solid clones appear and standing at attention. "Okay guys, split into groups 4, Group 1 Fire Manipulation, Group 2 Earth Manipulation, Group 3 Wind Manipulation, and Group 4 I want you guys to play shogi and think up strategies in battle. Now go," shouted Naruto, as the clones nod. Flashback end. From that day on, Naruto trained since he was 2 years old. Kenshiro trained him in chakra control, elemental manipulation, taijutsu, ninjutsu and fuinjutsu. As for his gold dust bloodline, he was on the level of the Sandiemi Kage. When he was 5, he was already Sannin level in every ninja art known to man. Naruto looks around the mist, but suddenly he hears a rustle in the bush and looks and sees a white bunny. He smirks at a foolish tactic. "Really, Momochi? Sorry, I'm someone even Yagura should fear. I have your scent now and your partner. Let's see if I was right about Kakashi Baka and the emo and Banshee. That will give me an excuse to become an apprentice," thought Naruto with a dark smirk on his face. He looks for a place to hide and bites his thumb and slams his hand down on the ground and screamed Kachiyose no Jutsu. The smoke clears and reveals 40 feet tall hawk with golden eyes. It looks around and spots its summoner. "What is it you need, Naruto-sama?" asked Taka. "Yes, Taka. I need you to deliver a message to the Sandame for backup. Tell him to send Team 8 Sume and you go. Explains a serious Naruto, as he hands the scroll to the hawk and straps it to its leg. Taka nods. Hi Naruto-sama, I will be back in 15 minutes. I hope to meet your friends. Said Taka, as he blasts away so fast it leaves a sonic boom. Hokage's office. Sarutobi Hiruzen can be seen doing something even more feared than the Kages paperwork. He was just about to use a fire jutsu on the pile evilness, when suddenly he hears it tapping at the window and is shocked to see a large hawk. Are you the Sandame? Naruto-sama spoke of. He has a message for you. Said Taka, as he handed the Sandame the scroll and poofed back to the summon realm. OG-chan, I have some grave news. My team ran into the Demon Brothers. I protested that we should call for backup, but Sakura in her screeching glory told me that weaklings don't overrule their superiors' decisions. GG, I request backup of Sume Team 8 and Yugo. I can't guarantee I can hold back the urge to make Sakura and this pervert become chopped liver for my summons, so please send backup and tell them to get here on the double. That damn Hitaki used me as a shield to take a hit from Zabuza's sword. I am waiting at the client's house. It's time I shed this mask. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. PS OG-san, use Kage Bunshins to do that paperwork. You are the Kami no Shinobi, for Christ's sakes. Sarutobi stared at the paper with a blank look on his face before his eyes glinted with malice as killing intent rolled off of him. You damn bastard Kakashi. You let your hate for Kyuubi control you. It seems I am gonna have to get my grandson off of that damn team of bakas. He makes 3 shadow clones and sends them to do the paperwork. Finally dropping you mask. Naruto-kun, bout time now. Let's get you that back up. Thought the Sandame, as he snaps his fingers. 2 figures appear in a leaf. Shunshin kneeling. These are Anbu captains Tora and Taka. Hi Hokage-sama, shouted the Anbu, as they awaited orders from their superior. Taka, Cat, I want you to tell Team 8, Kitsune and Sume to give back up to Namikaze Naruto in Spring Country. Also tell Kurenai to give this to him. Said the Sandame, as he pulled out a black and red Jonin vest. The 2 Anbu smirked under their masks. Inwardly they were cackling in glee. Finally dropping that damn mask about Dame Time Gaki. Thought the 2 Anbu captains. Both captains nod and look at each other before looking back towards the Sandame and ask something that shocks him. Hokage-sama, we were wondering if we could go along with Sume and the others so we could help and train the blonde. We owe it to him as his personal guards. Yes, you can go, but make sure to give Naruto this. Said a grinning Sandame, as he pulled out a black custom Jonin vest with the kanji for Dark Slayer on it in blue. The Anbu in the room smirked behind their mask in pride at the blonde. It's time Naruto show them who is the strongest in this world. Thought the pride-filled Anbu, as their thoughts wandered. 3 groups walked in. Kurenai Yuhi reporting for backup. Hokage-sama, said a black-haired beauty. Sume Inuzuka reporting for backup, said a gruff female voice, known as Sume Inuzuka, one of the Leaf's Ice Queens. Kitsune reporting for duty. Hokage-sama, said a Anbu with a fox mask. He looked around at the groups before him and spoke in his Hokage voice. I have received a message from Namikaze Naruto, who is requesting backup since his team encountered Zabuza Momochi in Wave Country. Said the Sarutobi, gaining gasps from the females in the room, as this man was a very ruthless man and an efficient killer. Sume asks a question about where is Naruto, but then the atmosphere becomes heavy as the Hokage's eyes glow with rage. She is curious about this. Hokage-sama, why do you look like you are gonna execute someone? Said in a blunt manner. Hiruzen seethed, but managed to speak in a rage-filled voice. Hitaki used Naruto-kun as a substitution so his precious Uchiha wouldn't die, but Naruto managed to shatter the blade. His team tried to kill him, but he created a shockwave that knocked them away so he could escape just as the missing nin fled. Sume hears this, growls in pure rage at what this fool did to her. Naruto and her hair spikes and eyes turned into slits. You would think she had the eyes of a demon. Kurenai gasped at this. To think Kakashi of all people would go this far for the Uchiha. Her respect for him took a huge nosedive. Understatement of the year. Kurenai, Kakashi is gonna get docked pay and won't be training his team at all. Thought the Sandame. He thinks for a while before his lips split into an evil grin that threatened to split his face. The Junin and Anbu see this and shudder. If I wasn't gonna meme the Cyclops, I would feel sore for him. Thought a whimpering Sume. Era seems Kakashi-senpai is in for it now, maybe now Tuto can finally relax, thought the Anbu, as the Hokage's evil chuckle echoes throughout the village, causing many to run for the hills. Back with Naruto. Naruto is just finishing his last set of 2,500 sit-ups when he hears this surrogate grandfather's evil chuckle that he smirks demonically. So sadistic, I feel bad for Hitaki Banshee and the emo. What about you, Ken? Said Naruto inside his head, as he sees his brother do mock version of a thinking pose but then smirks evilly. Nope, can't find any reason to care what punishment the old monkey gives them, the demon lord said in a nonchalant shrug of his shoulders. At this, Naruto shakes his head in amusement but wonders about the safety of Tazuna and his family. He clenches his fists till his knuckles pop, but then he picks up a life signature that had a bit of Kenshiro's Yuki in it. His eyes then widen, but then narrow when he senses 3 familiar signature moving toward it at a sow pace. Naruto's aura spikes as he roars throughout the country in rage and anger at these pathetic humans. Oh, he was going to enjoy ripping them a new one. I need to get Kushiheim out of there before Zabuza or those traitors get to her, thought Naruto. He presses his fingers to his forehead and concentrates on the signature. Few seconds later he vanishes, in a blur of speed to the destination. Naruto can still remember the day he found out about Kushina being alive. He kept wondering what happened to her, but when he found out he was shaken with rage and sadness. Flashback: Forest of Death Tower. Naruto could be seen looking through some files he stole from the home of the elders. Those 3 were the ones he saw watching him from a suddenly stops on one file that could give him some answers. He opened the file and started to read. The more he read, the more his azure green eyes started to glow with rage and sadness. Naruto growls, as his aura flares up while channeling Kage-level killing intent that scared a few animals that were in the forest and made the hearts of some rude Enbu explode in their chests. Kenshiro wakes up and senses its container's emotions and is shocked at the rage and hatred that surpasses his own. Kid, what is wrong? Why do I feel so angry? Asked a concerned Kenshiro. Naruto tells him to look into his memories. He does and feels disgusted at this village. They planned on turning him and his mother into breeding factories when he became old enough and captured Kushina. Naruto's head snaps up when he senses multiple chakra signatures closing in on his position. But suddenly his senses pick up a signature that had 2 other sources in his body. He looks and narrows his eyes as they flash a glowing green. So this is the asshole who tried to turn me into a weapon, and he apparently isn't pleased that I am stronger than he thought. Looks like Day Cripple brought his teammates and Inu HMPH. I think it's time I show them why I sent all those fools to the hospital and Moruge. Naruto smirked ferally but suddenly caught a hand of condensed lightning chakra and frowned. You know, Inu Baka, you are supposed to use assassination jutsu, but your Chidori disgraces the word assassination. Naruto spoke as if he was speaking about the weather. He broke the Anbu's thumband, punched him through the roof and leapt after him, landing on the forest floor hard enough to create spiderweb cracks. Danzo, Kaharu and Homura, you have to the count of 4 to bring your wrinkly asses out here. I am going to make you pay for trying to ruin my Ka-chan's life and mine. Yelled a furious Naruto as his fists clenched until his knuckles popped. He may seem angry on the outside, but on the inside he is calm as water. He focuses his fire chakra in his throat and shouts, Kaden. Goka Makakyu. As he said this, he blows out a giant wall of fire that was a nightshade blue toward the entrance, burning every tree in the forest. Back to the entrance. The 3 were about to send in the root squads but suddenly jump back. Training ground 42 entrance. The 3 elders stand outside waiting for the rude Anbu and Kakashi to bring Naruto and place the seals on him, but suddenly. Bring your asses here, elders, I know what you did to mother, I will fucking break you pieces trash. Naruto's voice boomed through the forest. The elders. His knuckles popped. Tazuna's house. A red-haired woman could be seen standing up, in a stiff posture, ready to strike at any threats. Right now she is radiating killing intent at these 3 bastards, more so, at a certain Cyclops. This woman could be described as a goddess, red maroon hair that cascades down her backside, wearing a full-body Enbu suit with arm and shin guards. Holding a very elegant crimson-colored oak katana. This sword was made by a blacksmith who prayed to the shrine of the Kyuubi and asked it to bless the sword with its chakra, and was forged with titanium chakra conductive steel. This is known as Chishio-Heim. Right now Kushina was holding Kakashi by his throat while the other 2 stooges were being held by her chakra chains. And as you could say, hell hath no fury, like a mother was intent on making them pay, but a knock could be heard at Tay door, but before it could be answered it was sliced many times before a click was heard. The door fell to many pieces and the figure Kushina dreamed about walked through, and she feels her heart beat faster. Naruto Namikaze could be seen walking in wearing a short-sleeved high-collared shirt with the Uzumaki and Namikaze symbols on his back, hair spiked up and reached to his back. Minato and Tobirama's hairstyle, white wristbands with seals. For weapons, black pants with a red lightning streak down the side and black shinobi sandals, and at his waist was a sword that made the traitors of Team 7 pale. It was a 15-inch 4-foot-wide katana of black and white diamond patterned hilt and a black blade dark as the nightski. This sword was a special sword made from Naruto's chakra, Tuki, and Kenshiro's Yuki, the ultimate sword, Black Sun. Demon, how did you survive that slash to the chest from Zabuza's sword? There's no way you could have survived, said Scarecrow hissed. Inwardly he was scared of the situation his team was in. What he didn't know is that Naruto called for backup. Naruto looks at Kushina and smiles at his long-lost mother and speaks in a loving voice, "Ka-chan, we are finally reunited at last." Kushina tears up at this, and much to everyone's shock she kisses him. He stumbles a little but returns it. He would have continued until a certain loyal Uchiha bitch decided to open her trap. "You are so disgusting, Naruto, no wonder my dad said you were a freak." She would have said more until she was blasted by killing intent that rivaled Kenshiro's, who raised an eyebrow at this, impressed, but Naruto was staring at her with an intense emotionless look. It made Kakashi and Sasuke shiver. This feeling, the Dobi is just like him, thought a certain brooding emo, as he is currently shaking. How is the demon brat so powerful? How did he get this powerful? Danzo and the elders made sure his growth was stunted, thought a skeptical Scarecrow, but before he continues his train of thought he hears a sword being unsheathed. They turn to see Naruto lifting Sakura up by her hair with only one hand clenching tightly around her skull, so cries out in pain only for her head to explode in a massive amount of gore. Naruto looks at his hand, still staring at his team, and licks the blood off his gloved hands slowly as a dark grin etches on his face. Tastes just like Jasine tea with a hint of honey in it," said Naruto in his dark voice, echoing through the house. Sasuke and Kakashi tried to kill Naruto by throwing kunai at him, but all of a sudden sand blasts from the ground and forms a barrier around him. Kushina hears Naruto's voice and feels her panties wet, and she sits on the stairs and slowly fingers her swollen pussy, moaning in her mind, "Oh my Naruto-sama is so dangerous and hot. When we get back to Konoha I get to have him first and his kits," thought a horny submissive Kushina as she stares at her son, who had an air about him that commanded respect. But suddenly she hears two screams of pain and smirks sadistically. "Naruto-sama, show them their place," Kushina thought with a dark smirk growing on her face. Naruto yawns in boredom. "You know I'm just gonna knock you two out. I don't want to dirty my blade with your disgusting blood, so night-night," Naruto drawled lazily, as he smacks two seals he formed out of his chakra on their chests, keeping them out of commission until he decides to release them. Tazuna's bridge. Naruto appears in a burst of wind and dissipates the mist, but smiles ferally at his opponents. "Well, if it isn't Momochi Zabuza Kirigakure no Kijin, I have been waiting to pay you back for that scar you put on my chest, but I'll go easy on you since that damn Uchiha used me as a substitution for that hit," said Naruto in a very angered tone. Zabuza is sweating but speaks, "Look Gaki, I didn't mean to. Your mother hired me to bring you to her, but your team screwed things up. I'm on your side, so please listen to what I avenue to say," said a pleading Zabuza. Naruto nodded and motioned for him to continue. Zabuza nods in appreciation. "While I was on the run we were about to be killed. Your mother saved both me and Haku, and from that day on I pledged my loyalty to her, and she helped me get stronger and also helped me protect Haku, who I saw as my son," said Zabuza in a fatherly tone. Haku is shocked at this and starts shaking uncontrollably. Zabuza sees this and hugs his son while Haku is crying his eyes out behind his mask. Naruto sees this and smiles, but it drops and he hears a whistling sound. His eyes widen but narrow. "Zabuza, move!" shouted Naruto as Zabuza and Haku jump behind him as Naruto charged his emerald green Tuki through his sword and unleashes a Kanatsu wave at the shooters. He sheathes his sword with a click. Zabuza and Haku hear a click and turn to see the air ground split and screams from the other side, and on the other side of the bridge they see Gato looking scared with a brown stain on his pants while his men are looking at Naruto with fear. Sudden old Gato gets some courage back, but Naruto still detects fear in his voice. Well Zabuza, I didn't expect you to betray me. Zabuza and Haku snorted at that statement, saying they never were working for him. Gato hears this but continues. But since I have more numbers than you, I decided to have you executed. Besides, ninja cost too much money to hire, and I will be sure turn those 5 bitches into whores after today. Gato finished with a lecherous grin. But all of a sudden the air around them changed when they heard someone chuckling echoing throughout the wind. This sound made everyone's hairs stand up on end. They look at the source to see Naruto chuckling with one of his golden eyes peering out of his bangs with a bloodthirsty grin spit on his face. Fingering the hilt on his sword. You know, I didn't think you had the balls to actually say that about my mates. But now Gato, you pissed off the wrong demon king around here and it's time to face your punishment, but I won't need to move from this spot. Naruto said in a demonic voice as his sword glows with his azure green Tuki aura. He slips into a Lado stance. Zabuza Kyofu, Haku o Tuto stand back. They complied and watch as Naruto's aura forms into a demon fox mask with black and yellow sclera eyes. All of a sudden Naruto slashes at the air. They look to see what happened and gasp in astonishment and respect just in time to say Gato's army slashed into gore by azure lines appearing out of thin air. All they hear is a shink. Naruto closes his eyes and whispers in a demonic voice, Dimension/Barrage Level 1. Naruto finishes in a small whisper. As the dimension web cracks into many pieces in Zabuza and Haku's mind, Naruto's Kenjutsu is beyond a Kages level. This Gaki's stronger than Madara and Hashirama. Thought an awe-stricken Zabuza and Haku. Gato tries to run to safety, but before he even moves, Naruto grabs him by the collar, bringing him eye level to Naruto, who had a smile that spoke of unlimited pain and suffering. Now what was that you were saying about raping my Heims? At this Gato starts to pale and sweat, but Naruto turns toward the other side of the bridge in time to see the other wave citizens holding pitchforks and other different weapons. Suddenly an idea clicked in Naruto's head. Naruto looked at Gato with a very scary ass grin. Picture hollow Ichigo's grin. Yay, that's scary as fuck. Now I know what to do with you, said Naruto in a sadistic tone. As he throws Gato in front of the crowd, Naruto turns to leave, but not before saying, he's all yours, citizens of Wave. I think it's only fair that you got your vengeance for Kaiza and the families you lost. Goodbye. Naruto finishes as he, Zabuza and Haku disappeared in a futon shunshin just at the last second as Gato's tortured screams rang through the village. Tazuna's house. Naruto arrives with Kushina and the others to inform Tazuna that Gato and his army are gone and they will be heading back to Konoha for mission debrief. But not before Inari cries about his Ni-san leaving. Naruto smiles. Don't worry Otudo, I will come and visit you whenever I can, but first, since you want to learn Kenjutsu, I have a present for you. Naruto pulls out 2 scrolls and hands them to Inari. Oto, since you have the same body type as me, I will give you my personal copy of my Kenjutsu style, Dark Slayer. In the other scroll is a training sword that is shaped like an O-katana. I want you to practice every kata till it's instinctual to you, and I might make you my apprentice. Grow strong, Inari, to protect your precious people, said Naruto in his big brother tone, as he ruffles Inari's hair, who smiles at his Ni-san. I promise Naruto ni I will be strong like OU, said a happy Inari. Naruto looks towards Zabuza and the others, tan at the 3 scrolls in his hand, 2 with he kanji for human, the other for body. He addresses to the others. Let's move out, guys, I want us to arrive at Konoha in 2 hours. Finished Naruto, just as he hears every's highs. All of them blur in a burst of speed. Tazuna turns to the villagers and asks what should we name the bridge. They can't come up with a name, but Inari smiles and says, the Great Naruto Bridge, finishes a happy Inari. The others hear this and chant the bridge's name. With Naruto. Naruto stops on a tree branch to turn his head back and chuckles in amusement. Kushina hears him and asks what's wrong. He shakes his head and smiles. Looks like the villagers named the bridge after me. Looks like my Otuto will become a leader like me. Finishes a proud Naruto, who smiles with the others at the happiness Nye feels, and then move forward with an explosive amount of speed toward Konoha. 2 hours later, Izumo and Katetsu, nicknamed the Eternal Chunins for being on guard duty for many years. Right now Katetsu is bored and looks about to fall asleep, but Izumo knocks him over the head, making Katetsu mutter, "What in Kami's name possessed you to smack me over the head just for trying to rest my fucking eyes?" Finishes an annoyed Chunin guard. Azuma was about to reply but all of a sudden stops to look at the forest just into time to see 7 blurs blast to the Hokage's tower with speed, making the Hiraiishin look like a joke, making him fall over muttering, "Itai." But looks and sees Kotetsu laughing his ass off and snickering. Azuma fumes and starts chasing his partner around with kunais. Others see this but shrug and go about their business. What they didn't know was shit about to hit the fan. Hokage tower . The Sandaime was known as a patient man on and off the battlefield, but right now these demands from civilians and corrupt council were really starting to get on his last nerves. After he saw a request to banish Naruto, something in his mind snaps. He jumps from his seat, pulling out his bow staff and smashes his desk along with the paperwork, huffing and puffing, beating his chest like an ape, making the Anbu hidden sweat drop. I don't blame him, I would blown that shit up with a bunch of explosive notes, thought the sympathetic Anbu. All of a sudden Naruto and the others file into the room and bow speaking, "Mission complete, Hokage-sama." Sarutobi sees Naruto and smiles, "Excellent job, Genin Naruto, or should I say elite Junin Naruto." Finishes a proud Sandaime, who sees Naruto Zabuza and Haku elite Junin vests. Naruto sees, cries at this and hugs his Oji-san, saying thank you. The Anbu snicker and asks is their little bro getting soft on them, but are silenced as Naruto grins at them. "Just for that, me and you guys are going to get real acquainted with my black sun katana," said Naruto in a sadistic tone, as the Anbu in the room pale and disappear with a shunshin. Naruto laughs his ass off with the others looking on with amusement. Suddenly Naruto remembers something. "Oji-san, I think I shall leave with you the traitors that I sealed into this scroll." Naruto hands his grandfather 2 scrolls with the human kanji while he destroys the 3rd scroll. "Oji-san, just put those 2 assholes on probation till the chunin exams. I will be going undercover as a solo team." The others nod at this since he heard rumors of Orochimaru trying to invade the village with Suna and Iwa. "Okay Naruto, I'll give you the keys to your clan estate so you can have 2-month vacation to train and relax." Naruto nods and smiles thankfully. "Catch y'all later, Oji-san. Mikushi-chan and Yugo have to work out on our new bed," Naruto says in a husky voice, as he grabs Kushina and Yugo, who are sporting lustful eyes, disappearing in a wind shunshin. Sarutobi raises an eyebrow but shrugs, muttering "Glucky bastard." That makes the others snicker at him, but they look away with an innocent expression when he glares at them. All night people would be hearing loud moans and screams of pleasure and the sayings of Naruto-sama. Every woman blushed at this, going home with dirty thoughts in their mind about a certain blonde-haired god. Time skip council room. Naruto could be seen yawning in boredom as he stands before the council, being brought up on false charges. He looks to see the clan heads. Hyuga Hiyashi, clan head of the main house of the Hyuga clan, one of the strongest Jiyuken users to come out of Konoha. Shibi Aburame, clan head of the Aburame clan and is rumored to have bugs that feed on Yuki. Shikaku Nara, Jonin, commander of Konoha and clan head of the Nara clan. Sume Inzazaka, captain of tracking division and clan head of Inzazaka clan. Akamichi Shuza, head of the Akamichi clan. Inoichi Yamanaka, head of the Yamanaka clan, works at INT division. The elders were Homura, Kaharu and Danzo Shimura. These elders were responsible for the orchestrated attacks on Naruto, although failed. Then there's the civilian councils who had managed to dig themselves into the shinobi part of the village and tried to execute him every chance they had. Right now the Sandaime clan heads and Naruto had twitching eyebrows and were considering raising the entire room, but they had to decide what to do with the Uchiha. But sadly a certain bitch of a howler monkey had to open her mouth. "Hokage-sama, this demon should be put to death for killing my daughter and injuring his sensei and teammate," screeched the pink-haired banshee. Before she could continue, Naruto turned his head towards her. "Woman, me and neither of the clan heads have the time or patience to hear your damn screeching, so do us a favor and shut the fuck up before I hang you with your damn vocal cords," snarled Naruto. Sake Haruno turned red in the face at the audacity of this brat and screeched, "See, this demon should be executed for threatening me. If you won't do it, I will," said the insane Haruno. Just as she was about 3 feet from him, her head exploded, sending blood on the other civilians and elders, excluding the Sandaime. Naruto looks at the body in disappointment, sighs, "Idiot woman, those without ninja training cannot hope to get close to me without suffering to my third taijutsu style that I based off of Hiyashi-sama's Jiyuken," said a bored Naruto. The other clan head's eyes almost bulged out of their eye sockets at this. This kid based his third taijutsu style off of Hyuga's Jiyuken. Unbelievable, thought the impressed clan heads and a proud Hyuga clan head. Sarutobi asked Naruto what is the style's name. Hake Saiten no Ken, replied Naruto in a proud voice. Sarutobi nodded impressed. What rank do you say your style would be? Asked a curious Sandame. Naruto and Hiashi smirk and say in unison, it would be SSS ranked Hokage-sama. Hiashi and Naruto look at each other and burst out laughing with the other clan heads. Naruto suddenly remembers something and sent a cold look toward Homura Koharu and Danzo, who start sweating at his look. Oji-san, did you know that some of the people I sent to the hospital were Anbu when I was little? Said an annoyed Naruto, as the other clan heads in Hokage are thinking this kid did that to the Anbu dam. Thought the proud clan heads but were confused. Inoichi asked what did the sign on their mask look like. One simple word spoke volumes and angered the Hokage. Root? Danzo's cronies had the nerve to interrupt me. Kushina and Yugo sleeping and tried to place a loyalty seal on me. Said a pissed off Naruto. The other people in the room shivered from the sheer pressure Naruto's Tuki is unleashing, but Naruto gets an idea. Hokage-sama, I also found out that the elders were responsible for Kushi-chan leaving saying I was dead. Said Naruto in a sad tone that made the others angry toward the elders. Naruto snapped his fingers as the room suddenly glows. I placed seals to prevent any Shunshins entering or leaving this room. Naruto said in a colder than ice voice. Permission to execute Hokage-sama. The Sandame said in a blank voice, permission granted. Elite Junin Naruto. He advanced toward the elders. Danzo yelled, root. All of a sudden 5 thuds were heard. It turned out to be the bodies of Danzo's dogs being sliced to pieces. Before the elders could even protest, Naruto held out his hand and made the sand restrain them. The others gasp in shock at seeing the golden sand. Sarutobi looks at Naruto in shock. Naruto-kun, you have the gold dust Kekai Genkei of the Yondaime case cage? Said Hiruzen in a awe-filled voice. Naruto nods and explains, I found out my father Minato Namikaze was a close cousin of the case cage, but the gold dust bloodline skipped him but passed its most powerful version to me. Right now my control over it surpasses even the one-tailed raccoon that the bloodline hailed from. Said Naruto in a powerful voice. The others' leaders' eyes bulge out of their sockets at this. Who wouldn't? The Ichibi was known to have limitless control over earth, sand and wind. But to hear this village's dead last have control over it surpassing Ichibi made them shudder at how powerful he will be when he gets older. Naruto looks back toward the elders with a look of untold death in his eyes as his hands twitch. The sand coffins are pushed underground. Naruto stomps his foot on the ground, giant sand burial. Said Naruto in a powerful voice. Everyone winces as they hear the sound of muffled screams and the sound of something being crushed. Naruto looks at his grandfather and smiles a genuine smile that made his surrogate grandfather happy. Now you can make things better like your senseis wanted. I will take my leave now. See you in the morning. Said Naruto, as he walked home with his mates in tow. Sarutobi sheds a tear. Thank you Masuko, I will never forget this even in death. Sarutobi finishes in a whisper. The other clan heads see this and smile in happiness for the two who suffered because of the civilians and elders meddling. The Sandame wipes the tear away. Meeting over, everyone get some sleep tonight. Chunin exams are tomorrow and I need Naruto to do his part solo in the exams. Finishes Sarutobi in a tired voice. As he walks to his clan compound he looks up to see Minato and his senseis smiling at him with a look that saw it. Thank you Sarutobi for taking care of the village and our legacy. Sarutobi then promises to always be there for Naruto. I wonder how proud our father and uncle would be if they saw you now Naruto-kun. A happy Sandame. If he stayed longer he would have heard a fainty are already proud of him. Saru. Naruto goes to sleep shedding tears of joy at finally being together with his loves. Arigato to San. Kanshuro ni San Hiashi Oji-san and Sarutobi Oji-san, you will always hold a special place in my heart. Said a happy Naruto. Naruto looks over at the competition at Training 44. Did I get that right? With a bored gaze, only noting the interesting people was a blonde girl from Kumo, a green-haired girl from Taki, a black-haired girl from Iwa, and a red-haired girl with black rings around her eyes looking at him with a grin of a rapist making him shudder at how they met. Flashback start. Naruto was just walking down the street with eating his dango when all of a sudden he heard a bunch of shouting looking into the alleyway. He sees Konohamaru along with a scared Ino and two Tsunanins, one a blonde girl with a war fan on her back looking irritated while the other is a cat-looking man wearing purple paint on his face sneering at his little brother, his fist swinging toward the boy's face. Naruto narrowed his eyes and blurred, catching the boy's fist while grabbing Konohamaru in his other arm in a split second. "Is there something I can help you with, because I know you were not about to assault the Sandame's grandson in broad daylight, Tsunanin?" He growled, his eyes flashing purple with 9 rings around the pupil, making the man in the catsuit pale and sweat at how close he was to starting a war. The blonde girl looks at Naruto and blushes at how handsome he is but snaps out of it. "Listen sir, forgive my idiot of a brother, he had no idea, honest." The girl pleaded to him, getting a slow nod before Naruto lets up on the key, seeing Ino and the others are barely breathing. "What are your names?" Naruto said coolly while smelling pheromones, sand, and blood. "Kankuro Sabaku," the catman said arrogantly, getting a disinterested look from Naruto that made him seethe. "Tamari Sabaku," she said while staring at his chest, getting a smirk from him. Naruto smiled warmly and patted them on the shoulder, getting confused looks from the two Tsunanin. "It's good to see you, Itokos." Tamari and Kankuro gasped, hearing him call them cousins. Seeing their expressions, he chuckles and mentally commanded his sand ability to activate, getting wide-eye looks from everyone, including a figure in the tree. Tamari stuttered out, "That's 2 sands gold dust, how do you have it?" Naruto smiled and suddenly shot the sand at the tree, making 2 people jump out of the branches, one with an angry look, the other a curious, yet hungry look. He looks at the girl who has shoulder-length red hair, beautiful eyelashes, a toned body with luscious curves, beautiful sea-foam green eyes, black rings under her eyes showing a lack of sleep, a pair of low D cup and a sand gourd on her back. "How did you know I was there?" she asked in a monotone voice, with curiousness in her voice, shocking Tamari and Kankuro, who always knew she kills everyone who attacks her. Naruto quirked an eyebrow. "Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Subaku," he replied in the same monotone as her, getting an amused smirk from Tamari and her, while Kankuro is looking paler than Orochimaru. She nods. "Gaia number Sabaku, it is a pleasure to meet you, Namikaze-sama," Gaia said with a lustful glint in her eye as she is listening to Shukaku telling her to take him as her mate. Naruto senses her emotions and starts to sweat inwardly. "Kyuubi, please tell me that Shukaku isn't in the mating season," he pleaded. Kyuubi looks confused for a minute till he looks at who he is talking about and pales. "Kit, Shukaku is in the heat now," he yelled hysterically at Naruto, who jumped back from Gaia, who giggles creepily as her eyes flash into a 4-pointed star stalking toward him. Tamari looks confused till she realized that Shukaku is in the heat and pales. Kankuro back away slowly. She whispered to him in a frightened tone, getting a confused look from the elder Sabaku till Tamari whispered in his ear and watched as he paled too before copying his sister. "Oi! Dobi, hand over that sword, it will have better use for a Uchiha than you," said the emo lord in an arrogant tone, making Gaia glare at him for calling her beloved a dead last. Naruto puts his hand on her shoulder, stopping her. "Gaia-chan, he isn't worth it, come on, I want to show you guys around the village and talk." "Konohamaru, Moegi, Udon, go home for today," Naruto ordered, getting nods from the children, who ran home and ignored Ino, who was glaring at him, and Sasuke, who is looking livid at being ignored. Sasuke and Ino let out a war cry before charging at Naruto's back, not seeing his smirk before being grabbed by golden sand and tossed all the way across Konoha, making Gaia drool at his control over sand. Tamari sends Naruto a dry look, which he gives her an innocent look, making her Kankuro snicker before running for his life from enraged Tamari. Flashback. Naruto sees the gates open and sprints, leaving afterimages in his wake while keeping an eye out for Orochimaru, and stops just to see a team of Oto shinobi drop in front of him. 2 had arrogant looks in their eyes, while the girl had a scared look in her eye, making his eyes narrow as his Rinnegan flashes. "What do you want, Oto-nen?" Naruto said coldly, making the girl and the guy in bandages sweat, while the spiky-haired one jumped at him with his fist cocked back, only for him to get backhanded away by a replica of Naruto. Kin gasps as she sees 9 Narutos with the same eyes. "Say hello to my 9 paths of pain." he said in monotone, making the spiky-haired boy glare at him with anger before shooting a wave of air from his hands only for one of them to absorb it into his hands. Pathetic, Naruto said coldly before blurring behind both of them and plunged his hands through their chest, instantly sending them to the next world while the girl is shaking badly. Please don't hurt me, I never wanted this, I'll promise to be your slave if you want, I beg of you, Namikaze-sama. She whimpered, getting a soft look from Naruto, who places a finger under her chin, tilting her head up into her eyes. Look at me and tell your name? He asked in a gentle voice, making all her worry wash away, and looked into his purple eyes. Kintsuchi, Namikaze-sama, she said, blushing while poking her fingers shyly. Kin, I'm not going to kill you, I sense the purity in your soul, don't be afraid, if you want I will have you put under my clan's protection since I'm the head of both Namikaze and Uzumaki clans now. He said kindly, making her tear up and hug him tightly, saying, thank you, over and over again while he rubs her back softly. Naruto summons a Kage Bushin. Take her to the compound where she is safe. He ordered, getting a nod from the clone, and disappears in a blue flash while he searched Dosu and Zaku and found both sets of scrolls. Thanks for the scroll, scum, Naruto said coldly, using his futon chakra to boost his speed, heading for the tower while noting a giant snake following. Got ya right where I want ya, Oropedo. Naruto grinned mentally before increasing his speed. XXX 2 hours later XXX. Naruto lands in an open area. Looking around, he sees plenty of trees for finding cover. Just as he was about to move, he unsheathes Black Sun and sends a silent dimension cut at a group of snakes, making them poof out of sight. Naruto narrows his eyes before clapping his hands. Mokuton. Moku Ryu no Jutsu. Naruto shouted as a giant wood dragon sprouted from the ground and flew toward the north with immense speed, destroying everything in its wake. Naruto cancels the jutsu and smirks, seeing his technique go all the way past the entrance, and suddenly spins on his heel, parrying a Jien blade with his sheathed blade while keeping his eyes on a pale-looking man with golden snake-like eyes. Naruto smirks and says in a mocking voice, well, what brings you here, hubby baka, prowling for a certain duckling? Orochimaru glares at Naruto with ki, making Naruto get an amused look in his eyes before punching the snake Sannin in the stomach 10 times, making him cough up blood before knocking him away through a couple of trees. Orochimaru screams in pain, good god. This gaki broke almost all of my ribs with just one punch, I have to get out of here, at least I marked Sasuke-kun. Orochimaru cackled in pain before getting up to leave, but cries out in pain as lava splashes on his arm, melting it. Naruto smirks in sadistic glee at the pain his lava jutsu caused. He found out from Kyuubi that Tthe Rinnegan gives the wielder control over all elements, gives perfect chakra control, and makes your elements stronger. That made him giddy. That he also learned that the mental feedback of the shadow clones would not bother him anymore. He also found out that his Rinnegan had the abilities of the Byakugan without the blind spot, the eternal Mangekyo abilities without the drawbacks, and could use Kamui, Tsukuyomi, Susanoo, and Amaterasu without the harmful side effects. Get out of here, Orochimaru. I already know about your plans for the Uchiha. If he leaves the village, I will dispose of him myself. Naruto said with finality before heading toward the tower, ignoring the hidden teams watching the fight. Naruto suddenly stops before turning his head slowly, seeing a purple aura close in on his position. So you couldn't let your jealousy of me go, Sasuke. Naruto mutters in pity before smacking away a barrage of mini fireballs in time to see a curse seal Sasuke looking at him with bloodlust and hatred while his aura is affecting the surroundings. Naruto looks toward the trees. Guys, you can come out now, he said calmly as the people he saw at the entrance jumped down beside him with serious looks in their eyes. Nice to meet you, Kuritsuchi-hime, Yugito-hime, Fu-chan, Gaia-chan, Han-san. Naruto smiled, getting blushes from the girls and a nod from the giant man who asks a question. Naruto-san, what is wrong with your friend? Everyone takes note of the markings covering Sasuke, who is looking at them with arrogance and annoyance. Naruto said coldly, that runt isn't my friend, that asshole is Sasuke Uchiha, who was bitten by Orochimaru of the Sannin and is being controlled by the curse seal, and let his jealousy of my heritage and skills override his sanity. This asshole, along with Hitaki Kakashi, tried to also use me as a shield to protect himself from getting killed by Zabuza Momochi by using the Kawarimi. Naruto finished with venom, getting horrified looks from the girls and the guys, throwing hate-filled glares to Sasuke, who is looking smug like he was proud of it. No one does that to my fiancé and lives to tell about it. Kuretsuchi yelled with rage in her voice before punching Sasuke through a tree while Naruto is looking owlish for a moment before smiling. I see, that's what those documents Oji-san showed me after my promotion into my to guess Gaia, Fu, and Yugito's names are on there as well. Naruto said in a deadpan voice, getting nods from them. We can get to know each other better after we get to the tower. He said, getting nods from everyone till they see Sasuke running toward Kuretsuchi with lightning chirping in his hands, making Naruto narrow his eyes in rage before blurring in front of his fiancé and grabbed Sasuke's arm, dispelling the jutsu and slapping a seal on the curse mark, making the markings recede before knocking the Uchiha out and put him upon his shoulder. Naruto turns to the others and motions them to follow him and headed toward the tower to finish up. They soon reach the tower. Heading inside, they see a large arena with a stone ram sign on the wall before taking their scrolls out. Naruto sees the kanji for summoning and orders them to throw them on the ground as a poof of smoke appears, showing Kakashi, Iruka, and Kushina, who explained the meaning of the test, getting nods of understanding from them. Naruto turns toward Kakashi and throws Sasuke toward the scarecrow. Next time you teach your little bitch an assassination jutsu, make sure he doesn't aim at my fiancés or I will kill him. Naruto said darkly before walking to his room with his fiancés. Time skip. Chunin exam second round. Over the next few days, Naruto got to know his fiancés better and fixed Gaia's seal, allowing her to sleep and have better control over her Yuki and help with her taijutsu training, and got a few more tips on jutsu including his yodan. He also had a confrontation with Team 8 as Kiba tried to do perverse things to his fiancés only to get punched out of the tower by a pissed-off Naruto. Hinata revealed that her shy attitude and stutters was just a mask, shocking Naruto, and was further shocked when she confessed her feelings for him and accepted her, introducing her to his other fiancés who Hinata got along with easily and helped her train to be Junin level thanks to her having high chakra levels and shadow clones. All in all, it was an interesting week until one day both Naruto and Neji met, but it was more of a meeting. Flashback start. Neji, may I see your seal? Asked Naruto, getting a hesitant nod from the branch member who takes it off, showing a green swastika sign, making him frown. Neji, what is your clan doing with one of my mother's clan's Juinjutsu? Naruto said seriously, getting a wide-eye look from Neji, who explains that some of corrupt elders secretly stole it after the Second Shinobi War. Naruto listens with rapt attention before doing a few one-handed seals and placed his finger on the seal. Kai, he shouted as the seal cracked until a bright light covered Neji before disappearing, showing the Hyuga's true form, which made Naruto's jaw drop, cracking the ground. Neji was beautiful, still wearing the same outfit when she had the caged bird seal, except her eyes, which held hate, had kindness in them, long curvy legs, a slim waist, DD cup s held back by her shirt. Neji gasps in surprise, being able to be her true self once more, and smiles with tears before hugging Naruto, and to his shock kissed him on the cheek. Thank you, Naruto, for releasing this caged bird, she whispered into his ear before running back to her teammates with a blush on her face. Naruto smiles at Neji being free before grabbing his katana and walked to his room, his hair blowing softly in the wind. Things are looking up for Konoha now, he murmured. Flashback end. Naruto snaps out of his thoughts to hear his surrogate grandfather's speech about the chunin exams used as a simulation for war, making him shake his head at the explanation before taking notice of his mother's student Gekko Hayate having a sick look on his face, asking, does anyone want to forfeit? He sees Kabuto Yakushi forfeit, saying his chakra levels were low, making Naruto snort before silently signaling the root Anbu that Naruto had as his personal guard to subdue Kabuto, taking notice of Sarutobi, sending him an amused look. Does anyone wish to fight more than once? Asked the sick proctor, getting Naruto to raise his hand, nodding, eager to battle with finesse and skill. Time to show the true Naruto. He looks up at the screen to see the first match and deadpanned at his grandfather, who has a twitching eyebrow. Sasuke Uchiha vs Akado Yoroi. Skipping same as the canon. Kankuro Sabaku vs Mitsugi Tsurugi. Same as the canon, boring. Sai vs Omoi. Sai wins. Yugito vs Uzumaki. Yugito wins. Kuretsuchi vs Hisame. Kuretsuchi wins. Tamari vs Tenten. Same as the canon. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Sabaku vs Kiba Inuzuka. Everyone except the Hokage and Naruto gawked at his name while Kiba is howling in delight that he got the weak one, not noticing Naruto's eyes gain a predatory glint, one that Tsume notices and prays for her stupid son's survival. Kiba jumped over the rail onto the floor, nearly breaking his legs, while Naruto lifted his legs over the rail before flipping and landing on the floor, creating 15-foot crater that shook the entire building, shocking everyone. Before, to everyone's shock, a replica of Naruto came beside him and took off his jacket, showing him wearing black tight shirt showing his developed body and his 12-pack that made all the women blush and get a nosebleed, while the guys are glaring at him in envy and jealousy for having a body like that. "Ha, trying to show off dead last," Kiba said arrogantly, only to get an uninterested look from Naruto, who slowly unsheathes his katana, black and red lightning arcing off of it while giving off a sense of despair, making Akamaru whimper and run back, jumping into Hana's embrace. "Did you know, Kiba, that a human's most feared emotion is despair?" he whispered ominously, making everyone get a sense of foreboding from the sword's aura. Naruto sees he has everyone's attention and continues. "When someone feels despair, she loses all hope in ever achieving their goal due to the feeling of futileness in their efforts," he said wistfully before snapping his eyes open, showing his Rinnegan blazing in its glory. Kiba manages to get his bravado back. "Ha, at least I am not a fanboy to the Haruno," he sneered until a cold smile spreaded on Naruto's face, one that made Gaia feel aroused. "Ah, Haruno-san, well, she decided that trying to backstab me with the duck butt and the scarecrow in Wave Country, so I decided to get revenge on her," he said sweetly, getting a nervous laugh from Kiba. "How exactly by pranking?" Kiba said sarcastically, until he sees the same sand he saw Gaia use flow from the floor into Naruto's hand. "No, I gave her death by crushing." Naruto smirked cruelly, making everyone who hated Naruto pale and shiver, something that Naruto took joy in causing. "Also, don't think that those who hated me will be able to hurt me anymore. I hid my skills during the academy for you maggots to underestimate me," he smirked before continuing. "And my plan worked very well to my expectations, since Ino, along with those disgraces called fangirls from the academy, thought that I was weaker than them." He sneered venomously at a fuming Ino, who always tried to make sure Naruto was meek. "Let us get on with the match. I have promised to take my fiancés, Hinata and another Hyuga girl, on a date." Naruto sighed boredly, getting confused looks at who his fiancés were. Kiba charged at Naruto with low chunin speeds, going for a swipe to the fast, thinking that Naruto was all talk, only to yelp in pain from getting smacked in the face by the flat of the blade. "Dead." Naruto deadpanned, making Neji snicker, getting weird looks from Guy and Tenten. Kiba growls before unleashing a barrage of swipes, trying to claw Naruto to death, who dodges, leaving a smoky trail. Wesker's dodging in RE5 sweet making the Inuzuka even more frustrated. "What's the matter, Kiba? Can't handle my shadow step since you became so arrogant to think I was weak," Naruto said mockingly, getting a feral snarl form. The dog boy on lands on his hands and feet. "Shiyaku no Jutsu," Kiba howled before dashing at him with faster speeds, only to get smacked by Naruto upside the head, looking at him with disappointment in his eyes. Naruto said, shaking his head. "I am very disappointed, Kiba. After reading your emotions, I only see jealous, envy, greed, and lust. Those emotions that cause many to turn rouge on a village, and you are no better than the Uchiha," Naruto said emotionlessly, making everyone wince at the jab Naruto made to Kiba's ego. Kiba began to saw red and pulled out a kunai and slashed at Naruto with reckless abandon, trying to kill the demon prince, making everyone gasp at Kiba's actions. Naruto decided to use a new speed technique he made with his fire chakra, Kasai Hocho, fire step. He blurred as crimson fire arced off his feet as Naruto seemed to blur behind Kiba and launched a strike to Kiba's chakra point, making him howl in pain. Kiba swung his leg to kick Naruto, only for him to slap it away and launch 4 punches toward Kiba's ribs, cracking them, making Kiba black out from the pain, and Naruto picks up his coat and jumps up next to Neji, who gives him a shoulder massage, making him groan in content. Tenten gawks at her teammate but looks more closely and her eyes bulged for a moment. "Neji!" she yelled, making everyone look at who Tenten was looking at, and their jaws dropped off their hinges at seeing a beautiful girl. "Yes, Tenten, I am Neji, and I was not always a boy," Neji said, annoyed while continuing to massage Naruto's shoulders. "I thought you were a guy, not a female?" Tenten said, confused, making Naruto open his eyes. "It's because I got rid of that seal on her forehead." Naruto said, casually, getting bulged eyes from everyone including the clan heads, especially Hiashi, who saw the chance to rid the side branch of the caged bird seal and unite the Hyuga clan as one. Naruto suddenly asked Hiashi a question. Hiashi Kyofu, may I ask why your clan's elders have the caged bird seal, which is a juinjutsu of the Uzumaki? Naruto questioned, getting strange looks from everyone, even the Hokage. Naruto sees their confusion. The caged bird seal was a juinjutsu developed for torturing criminals and nuke Nin for information, but apparently some of the elders placed some seals into it to change Nejihime's gender and her personality so that she would hate Hinata. Naruto said, venomously, planning on killing the elders of the council. Hinata's eyes widened before narrowing as she subconsciously activated her Byakugan and unleashed Enbu-level killing intent with a murderous aura surrounding her, making everyone slowly back away from her. Neji giggles in amusement at her cousin's anger and smirks deviantly, something that Tenten noticed and shuddered at how similar it was to Naruto's. Neji kneels at Naruto's back and licks his earlobe in front of everyone, making Hinata blush at her cousin's boldness, while Hiashi had to be held by Sume and Inoichi to not meme Naruto. Naruto shivered in pleasure. You know, Nejihime, if you continue I won't be able to restrain myself in taking you in front of everyone. He said in a husky voice that made Neji shudder at how he sounds and gasps as Naruto squeezes her ass. She smacks his shoulder and mock pouts. That was low, Naruto-kun, arousing me for no reason at all. She grinned at him, getting a smug smirk from him. Neji and Naruto got to know each other after the seal was off of her forehead and found out many things about each other that made them both sad and angry. Neji was very angry at how Naruto was treated just for something out of his control. Naruto was saddened at how divided Neji and Hinata's clan was. To put a curse seal to control your own family is disgusting. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Sabaku vs Ino Yamanaka. Naruto smirked coldly, making Asuma flinch and feel sorry for Ino as he sees both walking toward each other, one with arrogance, the other with confidence and grace. Mayanoka no Orchestra by Aqua Times. Ready to lose, Naruto Baka? Ino screeched arrogantly as she charged at him with 3 bushins behind her, only to see Naruto stomp the floor and twist his foot, causing the earth under Ino to launch her in the air, making her cry out surprise. Elemental bending is something only those who dedicate themselves to training past their limits without giving up. Naruto said sagely as he smashed his fist into the ground, causing an earthquake, shaking Ino off balance before using his shadow step to attack her using his Tai Kenjutsu style, leaving many bruises on the blonde Yamanaka, who is foaming at the mouth in rage. The spectators are looking at the match with awe at how graceful Naruto's fighting style is. Hokage-sama, what Kenjutsu style is Naruto-kun using? Asked Yugo, who is looking to having a fangirl moment, making the Sandame chuckle with mirth. That Yugo is Naruto's personally created hybrid fighting style that uses high-speed maneuvers to counter, attack, and dodge. He has other styles, except 3 of them are so deadly he can permanently destroy someone's career as a shinobi. Sarutobi explained, getting shocked looks from everyone who heard him. What styles are they, Hokage-sama? Guy asked seriously. Nanto Seiken and Hokuto Shinken. He said in a grim tone, making everyone who heard of that style pale even whiter. Even the Auto Junin is sweating. Hokage-sama, how did Naruto come into possession of the most deadliest taijutsu styles known to man? He can practically kill someone with using only his fists. Said a hysterical Guy who knows how dangerous those 2 styles are. Guy, Naruto has already mastered the styles and has it to the point where he can do crippling blows. Sarutobi stated quickly, seeing the terrified looks. Naruto's fiancés watch the fight from the upper levels and are shocked at his speed and reflexes. I really hope none of Gigi's idiots try to assassinate him, otherwise Naruto-kun is gonna tear them apart. She muttered, rubbing her face. The others nodded in agreement with Kuritsuchi's words. Naruto is beyond the ability of a Kage, that is definitely for sure. Naruto uses his sheathed sword to bat away any launched kunai before spin-kicking Ino into the wall, knocking her out completely, ending the match before teleporting next to Kuritsuchi and the others who crowded toward him, looking him over for any injuries. "Himes, I'm fine. Ino didn't land a scratch on me, okay?" he said calmly, causing their worry to dissipate, getting nods before watching the rest of the matches that were no fun. Elite Junin Naruto Namikaze, your undercover mission is complete. Sarutobi announced, getting wide eyes from the genin and others, while Anko is looking at him with a lustful grin. Naruto notices her gaze and smiles at her, making Anko have a pink hue on her cheeks. Suddenly he teleports next to her and placed a palm on her shoulder, making Anko give him a surprised look until it morphed into pain. Naruto activates his human path and uses it to pull out a black substance from the seal on Anko's shoulder until it forms into an orb, making his eyes narrow. So this is Orochimaru's 10, no Juin, glad I had the idea of using my soul-stealing abilities. He muttered before crushing the sphere, only for a scream of rage to erupt from it. The Auto Junin looks at Naruto with rage and vengeance in his eyes before shining away with one last thought. I swear I will make you suffer for messing with my seal, Namikaze. The man hissed inwardly, not seeing Naruto's smirk. Anko looked at him with tears in her eyes before hugging him like a lifeline, afraid to let him go. Shish. Shish, it's alright Anko-chan, you don't have that stupid seal anymore. He said soothingly to Anko, who suddenly gives him a kiss on the lips, stunning him. Thank you Naruto, Jiraiya always said it couldn't be removed. She said lowly, getting a quirked eyebrow. He said that because his perverted ass was too damn lazy to study the damn seal. Naruto said in exasperation at a Sannin being so lazy because of her own rank. Naruto listens to the Sandame's speech on the final round for the exams, getting some cries of outrage and nods of understanding from the more calm-headed ones before telling them to take 2 months to come up with different tactics and train more. Naruto heads to the Hokage Tower since he felt some people enter with the Hokage a few minutes ago, and leaves in a blaze of azure blue flames, getting jealous looks from the Junin. Hokage Tower . Naruto appears in the Hokage's office only to smack away a hand with a swirling sphere in it, making his eyes narrow into slits, making the others flinch back at the coldness in his eyes. Someone's being quite jumpy, aren't we, Ero Sennin? Naruto said sarcastically, making the women snicker at the jab toward the man's skills. Says the wannabe ninja who probably won by luck. Jiraiya shot back pathetically, making Naruto quirk an eyebrow before disappearing in a blue flash behind the Toad Sannin, making him gasp at the wind-covered Rasengan positioned to drill him in the back. I already have surpassed Toussaint in his own jutsus thanks to my inhuman learning rate. It wasn't hard to figure the Rasengan out since it was basically a cage-level chakra control exercise. Naruto shrugged, seeing their baffled looks. Am I so? Guess you mastered your father's flying thunder god jutsu? Asked a multi-hair-colored woman with cold eyes. Yes, I did. All I had to do was just follow the pull and was able to land it perfectly on my first try. He said proudly, getting amazed looks from everyone except Jiraiya, who is looking kinda jealous. Naruto holds his hand to the woman, which she shakes. Name's Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Sabaku. I'm guessing you are Pakura of the Shikuden, correct? He said, getting a slow nod from the woman. You know Pakura, I won't betray your trust, so no need to look at me with such coldness. I know what it's like to be discriminated against for something out of your control. He said sympathetically, getting a look of understanding from the woman. Thank you Naruto, I had a hard time trusting people in my own village other than the Kage due to people being jealous of me having a Kekkei Genkai. She said sadly. Bunch of bakas if you ask me. Just because you have a Kekkei Genkai doesn't make the fighter, it's how you wield it. He spoke fiercely. I would like to talk later if you have time Naruto? Pakura asked, getting a smile from the container. He pulls out a black tri-pronged kunai and hands it to her. If you need me, just pulse your chakra through this kunai and I'll be there in a flash. Pakura nodded in thanks before placing it in her pouch. Jiraiya leers at Pakura while scribbling notes with blood running down his nose, only to roar in pain as a hand of golden sand pokes him in the ass out the roof and into the hot springs. Everyone looks at the hand and the innocent-looking Naruto before the guys jump back with their hands on their rears, eyeing him warily, making Naruto fall to the floor, laughing his ass off at them. Nice shot Naruto-kun, said a blonde woman with a green haori, making him turn to her and gasp, seeing her familiar face. Godmother, he whispered, making Tsunade gasp under her breath before hugging him with tears streaming down her face. I thought you were dead. She sobbed, making his eyes widen before narrowing as they changed to a golden amber color. Oji-san, I am this close from going to the homes of the civilian council and executing them using my sand. Naruto said coldly, making everyone sweat from the pressure of Naruto's emerald green aura that is flaring widely. Naruto, calm down, don't waste your breath on THEM. Tsunade shouted, getting him to slowly clam down with a sigh. Thanks godmother, it's just that those assholes have messed with my life enough times already and even made Makoto leave the village with Itachi niece just for sparing her. He sighed annoyed, making them narrow their eyes remembering the Uchiha massacre. Ji-san, why are all of the Kages here? Naruto asked curiously. Mai-sama is here due to the marriage contract made by your father, and Oniki are here to see who their daughters are being married to. As for Jiraiya, he's here to make sure the seal is working. He explained, getting a nod but narrows his eyes at the last part. Sorry Ji-san, I know he is your student, but I am not letting someone like him mess with something Too-san made. He is already too lazy that Anko-chan didn't get her curse seal removed earlier. He said heatedly, getting looks from Tsunade and Shizune. Brat, you better show me some respect, I am a genuine seal master, thank you. Jiraiya said smugly, only to get shot down by Naruto's next statement. Then how was I able to destroy the curse seal? By removing the soul implanted in it, thanks to you not killing your insane teammate when you had a chance. Naruto shot back, making Jiraiya flinch at his failure. Another thing Jiraiya, me, I already have Kyuubi's power mastered. Naruto said as he instantly activated his nine-tailed cloak, making his features look more feral, getting odd looks from everyone, even the Hokage. How long can you hold it exactly? The most my brother could hold his cloak was 10 hours at most. I said, analyzing his cloak, noting it looked golden. I trained this power to be able to last as long as I want, thanks to Kyuubi unlocking my demonic heritage, since he holds the Jubi's ability to mark his host as a demon prince. Naruto chuckled, getting a glare from Jiraiya. You would trust a demon to keep his word? He said in disbelief, only to get an ice-cold glare that made him step back. At least Kyuubi took care of me instead of your perverted ass. Naruto snarled, blasting Jiraiya with Kyuubi-powered ki, making the man fall to the floor clutching his throat. Naruto deactivated the cloak while giving Jiraiya a look of disgust. Not even 0.01% of my killing intent and you're already about to keel over. He said in a bored tone, making the Kages sweat at how that wasn't even his full killing intent. Naruto sighed. Gigi, I have to go to my training ground so I can master my dujutsu further. He said before disappearing in a blue flash, ignoring Jiraiya's idiotic attitude. Namikaze compound training ground . Naruto is sitting in lotus position within his Biju mode, surrounding him in a golden cloak with his hair spiked up more and a cloak similar to his dad's on him, and is subconsciously manipulating his Yuki to form different Rasengan variants. He has been going for more than 5 hours since he placed seals to slow the time perception down tremendously. Naruto suddenly sensed a chakra signature at his door that made him sigh in annoyance, recognizing it was Kakashi and Sasuke, and Kin. That made him raise an eyebrow before flashing toward the entrance to see Sasuke trying to force his way inside, only to get blasted backwards by a kick from Naruto. May I ask what you assholes are doing on my property? Naruto demanded coldly, making Sasuke snarl at him. I want your jutsu, sword, and your women dobi. Sasuke demanded, only to get slammed against the wall by a pissed-off Naruto whose eyes flashed into the Rinnegan, glaring deep into the Uchiha heir's eyes. Maybe you didn't heed my warning the first time in Wave Country. Seems I will have to show you the consequences of demanding my fiancés from me. Mugen Tsukuyomi. Naruto said coldly. Tsukuyomi world . Sasuke looks around to see himself to see a red moon with 9 commas on it, making him sweat since this reminded him of Itachi's Tsukuyomi. Glad you decided to join us, Sasuke. Naruto's voice sounded out, making Sasuke snap his head toward the voice, only to see Naruto sitting on a throne with 2 kitsune women massaging his scalp. Naruto motioned them to stop, only to get a pout, which he gave them a chaste kiss that gave them a glazed look before walking toward his victim, who is sweating even more as Naruto comes closer. Immediately Sasuke is suddenly chained to a cross with Naruto in front of him, looking at him with an emotionless stare until he pierced Sasuke's leg with his finger, making the boy scream in pain. That was the pain for causing me misery along with your lapdogs in the academy. Naruto said in monotone before pulling out Black Sun with clones appearing around Sasuke with the same weapon. Now you will be stabbed for the next 72 hours, prepare yourself, Uchiha. Naruto said in a sadistic tone before piercing Sasuke in the gut, making him grit his teeth trying to endure the pain, only to gasp as he is stabbed in the back. It's just a genjutsu. It isn't real, Sasuke said in his mind, only to be cut off by a cold, cruel chuckle from Naruto, who gives him an amused look. That is where you are wrong, Sasuke. In this realm I control time, space, even physical mass are under my control. He emphasized this by plunging his katana deeper, making Sasuke cry out in pain. My Tsukuyomi is different than Itachi. His only lasted 72 hours. Mine lasts for an eternity, so don't think you will be getting off easy. Naruto smirked, making Sasuke whimper only to get stabbed 3 times, making him scream even louder. 71 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds to go, little Sasuke. Naruto said darkly, making Sasuke scream in horror as Naruto laughs at his tortured screams. Couldn't resist Naruto pulling a Alucard. XXX with Naruto XXX. Sasuke suddenly lets out a blood-chilling scream that made Kakashi's blood run cold as his eyes went glossy with a drop of drool on his mouth. Pathetic, he didn't even last that long. Naruto said in disappointment before throwing him towards Kakashi, making the man slide back from the force. Take that weakling with you and never show your face around my place again, Hatakai. Next time I will turn yours and his mind into a fucking vegetable. Naruto growled before knocking both past the gate with a silent Shinra Tensei and went back inside to see Kin looking at him with worry. Don't worry about me, Kin-chan, I've just had a busy day. Go to the training grounds and train, I don't want you to be slacking off. Naruto ordered, getting a nod. I understand, Naruto-sama. Kin said before heading toward the training grounds, making him chuckle at the honorific. You know she has feelings for you, Kit. Kyuubi told his container, who nodded, already noticing the signs. I know, Ni-san, I'll take her on a date after the chunin exams if Akatsuki doesn't annoy me. Naruto huffed before laying down in his bed. Kyuubi laid down on his paws while thinking of what to say. Kit, just kill them so they won't bother us anymore, and make sure you kill that fake Madara. Kyuubi growled, remembering that moron posing as Madara. Ha! Like he could even come close to that man's level. Naruto snorts and closes his eyes to sleep, knowing these 2 months are going to be real troublesome. Time skip. 2 months later. During the 2-month time period, Naruto decided he wasn't going to slack off, so he trained himself non-stop, only stopping to eat, drink, and sleep and train. He also worked on his Yuki control till he could form the Biju Dama with only a little bit of Yuki. He even trained with his fiancées for the invasion and found out that his Rinnegan was a Uzumaki bloodline limit, and found out thanks to Kyuubi, who modified it, he had 9 paths of pain instead of 6. He found the shared vision to be very useful since he could see from different angles. He mastered all the powers of his paths to the point where he could do them with a single thought. He worked on his lie technique so he could do it in a single millisecond, something that would impress the samurai in Tetsu no Kuni. He mastered the Rasengan to the point where he could control the size, power, and speed, making it even deadlier than his father's. Minato would be crying man tears from his son's prowess in ninjutsu. He also honed his skills using his aura and taijutsu in conjunction, creating a very deadly combo that would destroy his opponents from the inside out or cause them to implode, getting praises from his brother figure Kyuubi that made him swell in pride, but not where he got arrogant. Kyuubi reminded him of that painfully. He also had a mock spar with his fiancées, and let's just say he was cackling madly since they couldn't hit him, ending up with them chasing at him screaming vengeance, which amused him. He also got to know much more about his godmother and her apprentice Shizune, and found out that, much to his small anger, that Tsunade was lied to about him being dead was none other than Jiraiya, his own godfather. Just because of a prophecy told to him by his own summons that pissed Naruto off so much that it made him activate his chakra shroud, but was calmed down by Shizune much to her embarrassment. Jiraiya tried many times to put a blocker on him so his abilities won't be so great. Too bad he doesn't know about his Biju mode's second form. Naruto looked through his family's scrolls for a second summoning animal that was recommended by his friend Kages Taka, the boss summons of the Taka clan, and found the summoning for the phoenixes that had told them that the sage modes for the Taka and Phoenikisu clans were the most powerful due to not being limited to increased chakra stores, and enhanced speed, power, and reaction time. They taught their summoners kenjutsu, ninjutsu from their clans, and their own genjutsu and senjutsu. Naruto immediately signed it and learned that both clans were best friends and agreed to allow him to summon both their clans, but warned them to never associate with the Gama clan since they seemed to have a habit of spouting prophecy bullshit. The rest of the month was spent with upgrading the village's defenses, with many seals that turned Konoha from a shadow of itself to an unstoppable fortress. Naruto even upgraded the sensor barrier that stretched in every direction to different countries, quite an enormous feat that the demon prince achieved. Kushina and the others finally forced him to relax and take a break since all he was doing was training, which he hesitantly accepted and spent the last few weeks with them. That doesn't mean he didn't slack off. He remedied this by summoning thousands of clones. After a span of 2 months was where the final event will begin. Chunin Exam Finals. Naruto looked down at the third match with boredom as he watched his cousin Kankuro act Y in a match with a Aburame, shaking his head at the puppet user's overconfidence, and saw Crow stab Shino multiple times only for him to disperse into many bugs that quickly latched onto the chakra strings, causing a distracted Kankuro to pass out from chakra exhaustion. Winner, Shino Aburame. Genma announced, getting roaring approval from the audience at a good match, but there were some boos because of Shino's bloodline, making him frown in distaste at the stupidity of these people. Naruto decided it was illogical to make those who don't understand see the light. Damn, now I'm starting to sound like Shino, he said sarcastically, getting snickers from the other Junin. They suddenly freeze as a hand of earth shot out, pointing their fingers near where the sun don't shine, making them sweat badly since they have been on the receiving end of that move many times. Naruto smiles sweetly. Now what were you going to say? The Junin laughed nervously before bolting out of there, with Naruto watching with amusement, taking note of the Kages' dry looks, making him look at them with an innocent look. What? He asked innocently. Don't you give me that innocent look, Naruto-kun. Pakura mock scolded, getting a pout from Naruto, who suddenly smiles seductively, making Pakura shiver all of a sudden. You know. Pakura shudders as she felt Naruto's breath on her neck. I wonder when's the last time you loosened up. Naruto breathed in her ear, making her blush, matching that of a tomato, making the Kage snicker before looking away when she glared at him. Naruto suddenly looked down at the arena and scowled as a whirlwind of leaves manifested in the center of the arena, revealing Kakashi and Sasuke back to back, looking smug all of a sudden. G-sama allow Sasuke HHIS match. I want to see his futile attempt to even harm Gaia. Naruto smiled coldly, getting evil grins from the others. Genma. Allow the Uchiha his match, even if it is just a futile one. Hiruzen smirked, seeing their angered looks, giving himself a mental pat on the back for his taunt. Kakashi looked at the Sandaime in shock and tried to plead to him, but all he got were cold sneers, meaning this old man wasn't going to bend over backwards for the Uchiha. Kakashi gritted his teeth before body flickering up to the stands with the rest of the Junin, who are giving him disappointed looks, making him growl before glaring at Naruto out of the corner of his eye, who had a smirk that said, "This payback bastard." Uzumaki's always get even, always. Genma looks at the two contestants with a bored look before raising his hand and swinging it down in a chopping motion. Hajime. He shouted before shining next to Naruto and Kushina. Sasuke smirks before blurring at low Jonin speeds that only made Gaia raise an eyebrow, amused, before blocking a punch and slammed an elbow into his before shifting on her left foot and launched a roundhouse that shot Sasuke back towards the wall, forming a crater. Is that all, Uketeme? I thought you boasted about being a god after you tried to save your own neck by using my fiancé as a human shield. Gaia said venomously, her eyes changing to a golden four-pointed star boring into him. Everyone who heard this glared at Kakashi and the Uchiha. Most of it was the shinobi, while the civilians were shouting death threats to her about insulting their Uchiha-sama. Naruto and the others look at the scene with amusement, while the Kage gives Naruto a look with mirth in his sea-green eyes. It seems my Masumi has been affected quite a lot, wouldn't you say, grandson? He grinned mischievously, making Naruto's eye twitch in annoyance, making the others snicker. Naruto suddenly smirks evilly. At least I ain't short and limp like someone. He teased, getting snickers from Kushina, Mei, and Tsunade, while the males sulk in the corner. Haha, you just got your asses burned. Anko cackled with Kurenai and Kin, while Asuma gives them a dry look. Sasuke glares at her in hatred and envy and again runs his mouth. Shut up, you nobody, you're nothing but a bastard child of a backwater village. He shouted arrogantly, not seeing the Junin's eyes widen before a massive killing intent slammed down on the arena. Everyone looked up to see Naruto emitting a green battle aura with his Rinnegan glinting dangerously while smiling demonically. What was that, Sasuke? I didn't hear you correctly. Did you just insult my fiancé's village out in front of me? Naruto said sweetly, making everyone except Kushina flinch and shiver at the sadistic undertone in his voice. Kushina sighs at Naruto's sadistic nature before patting his head, instantly causing the crushing pressure to dissipate, giving everyone a chance to breathe while Naruto sighs, "Thanks Kushi-chan," he said boredly. Gaara shakes her head before flipping through one-handed seals, stopping on the dragon seal. "Doden. Toju Doryuden no Jutsu," she shouted as the 5 massive earth dragons emerged from the ground, making Sasuke curse as he barely dodges the earth dragons while the last one manages to clip his leg, making him scream in pain. "You damn bitch, I'll make sure you suffer in front of your pathetic fiancé," he yelled, only to get a snort from her, making him glare at her even harder before black markings start to spread across his body and a chaotic purple chakra to explode off of him. Sasuke begins to laugh insanely, getting narrowed eyes from everyone while giving glares to a sweating Kakashi who didn't think his student would resort to that. Sasuke suddenly flipped through 3 seals for gripping his hand as a chirping sound caused everyone who recognized that jutsu to snap their eyes toward the insane Uchiha to see him holding a black ball of lightning in his hand. Naruto narrowed his eyes into slits. "It seems Sasuke has not heeded my warning the last time I put him in that genjutsu, but to use this jutsu against Gaia. It seems he is hoping for death," he said in a calm, cold tone, making everyone nod before glaring at a nervous Hitaki. "I finally get to have some revenge on the Dobi of a Namikaze by using your cold, dead corpse as an example," he sneered, only getting blank look before blurring out of view, and suddenly Sasuke's world suddenly exploded in pain as he coughed up blood from the fist in his gut, from aboard Gaia. Sasuke blurred away from her, appearing on a wall with a look of madness in his Sharingan eyes before charging the Chidori again before running in a burst of speed at high Jonin levels, lightning trailing behind him. A few more seconds Sasuke slowly approaches her while everything seemed to slow down, with his hand an inch from her heart, only for her to phase out of existence, only to appear above Sasuke with a ball of chakra in her hand. Naruto grinned. "Do it, Gaia," he shouted, getting a smirk from her before plunging the sphere into Sasuke's back, making him scream in pain as the jutsu exploded, causing a massive boom to sound out. The dust clears to show Gaia standing a few feet away from Sasuke, who had a very big bruise on his back while laying in a crater unconscious. Genma was about to announce the winner when feathers started floating down the sky, only for everyone's eyes to widen. "Genjutsu." They instantly dispelled it as a huge explosion sounded outside of Konoha to see a bunch of huge 3-headed snakes stalking toward the gates, with a large army of Auto Nin trailing behind them, looking ready to fire off jutsu after jutsu. Naruto suddenly smirked. "Hey guys, why don't I introduce you to my new summons?" he said sweetly, making everyone pray for the slaughter that's about to commence. Naruto bit his finger and flipped through 5 seals before slamming his hands on the ground. "Niju Kachiyose," he shouted as large clouds of smoke blasted everywhere, only to get blown away by a screech to reveal something that made everyone pale. 2 birds, but not any normal birds. There are the boss summons of the legendary Phoenix and Taka clans, Fenikisu, and Taka, the boss of summons that surpass any contract out there, with Naruto standing in the air between them with crimson red marking around his eyes while the irises look like a blazing gold. Kushina gasped, getting everyone's attention. "Kushina, what is up with Naruto's eyes? They look different," Tsunade asked, only to get 2 words that made them grin. "Senin Moto." Fenikisu looks at his summoner out of the corner of his eye and smirks in pride at how quickly Naruto mastered their arts. "Well, it seems you have surpassed my expectations yet again, Booyah," he said in pride while Naruto gives him a smirk before his hair suddenly flashes into a bright gold with electricity sparking around and his eyes turning a blazing scarlet gold, with his energy blasting off him like a flame piercing the heavens. He looks over his shoulder at them. "For Konoha," he roared, getting war cries from everyone before engaging the enemy with fire burning in their eyes, making him grin seeing their fire renewed. He turned his eye back to his summons. "Taka-sama, Fenikisu-sama, take out the snake summons while I take care of the ninja," he ordered, getting devilish grins before the 2 bird summons launched waves of fire and wind at the large snake summons, while Naruto uses his Dark Slayer style along with Kuro Taiyo to decimate their forces. With the Junin, "Damn, this kid's a freaking kami damn leader, and to have summons for the 2 clans stronger than any other contract out there tells me he will go far," Asuma said, amazed, with the others agreeing except a scarecrow Junin thinking Naruto doesn't deserve those things. With the Kage, Kushina, and Tsunade. Kushina sliced a Auto Nin's head off while her chakra chains pierce whatever comes close while keeping her eyes out for anything that seems hostile while grinning madly. Yotan. Yokai no Jutsu. Mei's voice shouted before a colossal wave of lava hit a small group of Auto Nin, melting them instantly, getting a whistle from her knowing that's gonna hurt. Nice shout, Mei-chan. Kushina chirped, getting chuckles from everyone who knew she always lifted the mood even when in battle. They turned to see how Naruto is doing and blanched seeing him flashing from one group to another, leaving sliced and headless bodies. My Kami, even Minato wasn't this fast and deadly in the war. A whisper, getting nods from everyone who knew how deadly the Hiraiishin was during the war. Naruto suddenly appeared next to them, his body sparking with red and black lightning. Guys, it seems Orochimaru is here for the Uchiha, that's the reason why he has so many snake summons around. He stopped suddenly when he saw two people wearing black cloaks with red clouds on them. One had white beady eyes of a shark with blue skin, holding a bandaged Zanbatsu-like sword on his shoulder, grinning with bloodlust. The shorter one had an impassive look on his face, his eyes holding disappointment and sadness, 3 tomos in his eyes. Hoshigaki Kisame and Uchiha Itachi, what are you two scum doing here? Naruto scowled, activating his Sennin Moto for the Phoenix clan, making him look more menacing. We are here for the Kyuubi, Naruto-kun, Itachi said in monotone. Naruto's blade suddenly burned with black flames, making everyone shiver, seeing how his eyes seems to glint deadly. That would make Madara Uchiha piss himself in fear. Tell your organization that Kyuubi ni-san will not be leaving me ever unless you want me to come after you and your bitch buddies in my Biju mode. Naruto narrowed his eyes dangerously while flooding the area with killing intent that made Itachi frown. I thought you would have wanted to get rid of Kyuubi, Naruto? Itachi asked carefully, getting a snort of amusement from Naruto. Whatever gave you that idea, or was it something your masked freak of Uchiha calculated ever since Zetsu, who is hiding, spied on me when I was little? Naruto chuckled in cold amusement, getting wide-eyed looks from both Akatsuki members. Naruto looked at his blade in fake reminiscence. You know, I pride myself in being deadly in Kenjutsu. Do you know why, Itachi-san? He said in a bored tone while his aura roared dangerously before slowly turning his head downward with a sadistic smirk on his face that made them pale. Naruto's sword suddenly blazed with blue and black fire before slamming it into the ground, causing a shockwave to erupt from the ground as something inhumane screams in agony before fading out. The dust cleared to see Naruto holding his sword in one hand with the sheath in the other, the blade making a 30-foot crater. It's because I can launch pure wind pressure by just swinging it with pure strength and speed alone, something no swordsman except Mifune-senpai accomplished. He smirked darkly. How did you find out about our organization, Naruto? Itachi asked him curtly, who gave the Uchiha Slayer a mocking smile. I had some of my rude guards, the ones that have emotions, to interrogate Jiraiya's spies, and they sang like a bird. Naruto said with mirth in his eyes while Itachi narrowed his eyes when he spoke of Root. Where is Danzo? Itachi said coldly, only to get a look of dark glee. Executed by yours truly. Naruto grinned, showing his sharp fangs while everyone looked at him shocked eyes. Itachi looked furious. Why did you kill them? He grounded out, wanting to know the reason for executing loyal Konoha civilians. Naruto gave him a pointed look. They tried to turn Kushina Heim and me into a breeding stock due to my bloodline, something that you would turn a blind eye to, and Mikoheim would be very disgusted in you by how loyal you are to a village full of arrogant bigots. That would backstab their own teammate to live just like your bitch of a brother Sasuke. Naruto hissed while unconsciously channeling Kyuubi's chakra. Everyone, even Kyuubi, was scared of the hatred in his voice, while Kenshiro gave his little brother a sad look. It seems he reached his breaking point till he couldn't take it anymore. Stupid humans, and you call use Biju demons. He thought bitterly at how Naruto was treated. Your father would be very disappointed, Naruto. Itachi scolded, making Kushina's eyes widen in horror, looking at Naruto in worry, who had a stony expression on his face till his eyes flashed into the Rinnegan, glowing dangerously. My father would be absolutely disgusted with how far this village has fallen. Everyone damn day I had to train myself till death do you what I wanted after I found out the reason I was hated. Naruto snarled with a dark look in his eye, making everyone, even Orochimaru, who stood on top of Manda with Kabuto, flinch, while Fenikisu and Taka looked at him sadness. Naruto continued. I wanted to kill myself because of the beatings. So I would not have to suffer any longer. Kushina looked horrified at this with tears in her eyes, while Tsunade had looked at him with a haunted look in her eye to think he suffered this badly. Kisame looked at the boy with understanding eyes, knowing what it felt like to want the suffering to end, to be free. And they call me a monster. Kisame whispered with understanding, wondering if this organization is worth it. Naruto gained dark gleeful look in his eye. And you know what else, Itachi? Your brother had the gall to say my fiancés were nothing better than breeding stock. He spat, making Itachi twitch. After that I had so much fun by using one of my personally created genjutsu similar to your Tsukuyomi except 10 times more deadlier. Naruto sneered, making Itachi's eyes widen in fear. Naruto saw this and smirked cruelly. Yes, it is called Mugen Tsukuyomi, a genjutsu that lasts for an eternity, and I had the pleasure of slowly turning this village's prized toy into someone with a more broken mind than Orochimaru. Anko, who heard that, paled and shivered with Ibiki at how gleeful he sounded when he said what he did to Sasuke. Even Kyuubi shook in fear, looking at his brother figure in slight fear, yet pride. Now for the rest of you I'm going to show why I'm the demon prince of Makai. He shouted before a black skeletal figure surrounded him, taking the form of a fox with 10 tails, one hand holding an O-katana while the others held swirling black flame orbs and yellow baleful eyes boring into the Uchiha. Susanoo! Naruto yelled as the figure fully formed into the ultimate Susanoo, the perfect offense and defense. Kisame decided he did not want to fight. Sorry Itachi, but if what the kid said is correct, you are way too loyal to those who would stab you in the back, he said before standing off to the side till Orochimaru had enough of being ignored and ordered Manda to attack. Naruto turned his cover to the approaching Otto Nin with annoyance in his eye. You're annoying me, be gone. He yelled before commanding his chakra warrior to shoot Amaterasu arrows that exploded on contact. Surprisingly, none of the buildings were damaged thanks to the seals Kushina placed. Kisame whistled in morbid fascination at the way Naruto is destroying Orochimaru's forces and looking bored but alert, and that aura just screamed power and authority, which impressed him greatly. At the Itachi Uchiha lose his composure. Naruto sliced, smashed, cut everything in his path using sealess jutsu and his Susanoo's arrows to deliver death like a dance, something Madara would be proud of. He sliced another Otto Nin in half before using one of the tails to grab a purple snake with Orochimaru and his assistant on the back. Naruto peered through his black locks, his eyes boring into Manda like he was staring at his soul, like he was in the presence of an alpha. Manda, you will destroy your contract with Orochimaru and have it signed by Mitarashi Anko, is that clear? Naruto said in monotone, getting rapid nods from the snake boss before dispelling much to the Sanin's horror and shock. Kabuto suddenly charged at him, chakra scalpels in each hand, ignoring his master's screams only to cry out in agony from being pierced by the black flame arrows. His healing factor can't even work, which made him even more scared for his life. I know about your healing factor, Kabuto, which is why I had imbued my arrows with phoenix fire that stops any healing from happening, a great trump card against a Biju, which I will not use on them unless I have no choice. Naruto frowned at being forced to hurt Kyuubi's brothers and sisters and wonders if he should find a way to get them free. He brought up his sword, swinging it, sending a fast wind pressure that obliterated Kabuto's body into mush that made a lot of rookies queasy and green in the face at what the medic had been reduced to. It seems Masuko isn't afraid to get his hands bloody, no thanks to this village, of course. Gura said angrily at how his family was treated and compared this to his elders and found out this was similar. After Naruto becomes Hokage, I will remind him to get rid of civilian council. I found out that the elders conspired with the Hyuga clan elders to have Hinata turned into a breeding stock. Kushina snarled in disgust, making Neji and Hinata, who were nearby, activate their Byakugan in rage. Someone's going to lose a very important part of their male autonomy when we find them. Both girls said in a dark voice, making all the males except Naruto cover their crotches with their hands. Maybe I should teach them how to channel Raiden and Kaden chakra so it can be more painful. Naruto said in dark glee, making the girls squeal in delight, getting blank looks from Anko and Ibiki. Ibiki. Anko called. Yes, Anko? He asked, getting a terrified look from the usually loud, bold woman. I don't want to ever be tortured by them, even I'm not the crazy. She whimpered, hiding behind Ibiki only to get more giggles, making her shriek and curl into a ball. Anko, stop whining, they aren't going to haunt you. Kurenai deadpanned only to get a pout from her friend. Naruto turned to Orochimaru and Itachi. I think it's time to drop the curtain on this charade. He sighed coldly as he pointed his O-katana at the two, his tuki flaring like a roaring flame. I will not allow you to destroy my ambitions, boy. 8 Serpent's Head Jutsu. Orochimaru yelled before his body transformed into a giant 8-headed white snake, making Tsunade and Jiraiya blanch in disgust at what their former teammate did to himself. Naruto gave the serpent a blank look before stabbing the middle one with a blade, getting a shriek of pain as Orochimaru jumps out of its mouth with Kusanagi poised to stab him. Naruto channeled water and lightning chakra to his hand, getting a shroud of spiraling electricity and water around his hand before blurring behind Orochimaru in midair. Stormblade. He yelled before stabbing downward, causing him and Orochimaru to plummet down, causing a massive shockwave that almost knocked everyone over. The smoke cleared to show Naruto standing in a small crater, electricity sparking everywhere with him staring at a charred outline before turning to Itachi, who flinched at the look in his eye. Tell your fake god the real descendant of the Rikudo Sennin and heir of Biju is in this world. Tell that fake Madara wannabe that he will pay with his life for ruining mine. Naruto growled at Itachi, who nodded quickly before shining away to their base. Everyone cheered, including the summons, except a few people for Naruto who were already rethinking their views on him, making the demon heir smile before walking towards his family with the cheers still chorusing, ignoring Jiraiya and Kakashi's looks of jealousy. Hiruzen and the others smiled. Great job Naruto, I know Minato would be happy for us. Kushina smiled, getting a nod from Naruto, who knows his dad is smiling down at him with pride. Kami's realm equals. Minato Namikaze is looking at his son with the other gods in happiness and pride. I already am proud of you, Soichi. Take care of Kushina-chan for me until your time comes. He said quietly with tears running down his face. With Naruto and Ko. Naruto looked up and grinned. Love you too, dad. He whispered before drinking sake with the rest of his friends and girls, who were getting quite frisky with overprotective parents glaring at him only to get a raspberry blue at them, making them giggle. So Naruto, how far have you come along with your summoning training? Hiruzen asked. Naruto rubbed his hair. I mastered both my summon sage mode to the point where I can use it for weeks and gather nature chakra even when I'm moving and activate it instantly. He grinned, getting gobsmacked looks from those who had summons. My summons also have a major dislike of prophecies, just as I do, especially after hearing that Toad Sanin spout hypocritical bullshit just like Kakashi. Naruto sneered, getting similar looks from everyone at how far the Hitaki had fallen. Keep an eye on Sasuke, no doubt he will try to defect since he lost to Gaia-chan. Naruto said soothingly as he kissed a half-asleep Gaia on the forehead, making her snuggle into his chest even more. Kushina nodded. He even had the audacity to teach someone as unstable as him an A-rank assassination jutsu. She said with disbelieving eyes, getting an annoyed sigh from Naruto. Yes, he is probably mad that his jutsu had no effect on me since I can absorb natural lightning from any jutsu. He said smugly for one-upping the scarecrow Junin. Kushina grinned before licking his whisker marks, getting a playful flare from Naruto. Do that again and someone gets punished. He said darkly, getting a saucy smirk from Kushina while the others looked on in amusement. Naruto suddenly sensed a few chakra signatures heading toward the gate. One of them made his eyes narrow as it was Sasuke's, the others had Orochimaru's signature on it. Naruto picked up his katana, getting confused looks. Seems Sasuke waited until nighttime to break out to escape since he isn't getting more power. He sighed, getting nods from everyone. Kushina, Mei, Kuro-chan, Fu-chan, Neji with me. Naruto ordered before blurring with the others towards Sasuke, who is heading toward Sound Country with Orochimaru's bodyguards. With the Sound 5, Karen and Tayuya eyes twitch at the sneering looks Sasuke is sending their way, with the others glancing at them wary looks since their tempers were short as a damn paper bomb. Uchiha, if you sneer at me one more time I am going to turn you into a female permanently. Karen sneered venomously, making him flinch. All bark and no bite. Seems like your sneer reminds him of someone Karen. Tayuya grinned demonically, only for a voice to make everyone freeze. So Orochimaru had 2 of my Uzumaki cousins in his clutches, huh? Said a smooth voice that turned Karen and Tayuya's legs feel like jelly, only to see the most handsome boy in their life with elegant black hair and gold locks. His clothes made him look like a kami given Adonis, especially the tight sleeveless black shirt that hugged his frame tightly and baggy black jeans with combat boots, his sword Kuro Taiyo tucked into a red rope-like belt tied in loops in the back. Naruto stared at the two red-haired girls who can't help but stare at his beautiful sky-blue eyes that sparkled and held pain and hurt in them and understanding. "Do you want to be with your family, Karen and Tayuya?" he asked softly, getting nods before they blurred away, shocking Sasuke and the others with their speed. Both girls latched onto his arms just as Kushina and the others walked into view, giving Sasuke and the other Otto Nin cold looks. "Now what to do with you?" Naruto said with amusement, using one of his space-time jutsus on the two-headed boy who screamed as his body was torn apart by the spinning vortex. Sasuke and the others decided to retreat and make a break for it, getting cold laughter from Naruto's group making them speed up to get away. With Sasuke sweats while looking around with wary eyes before hearing a scream to see Jirobo decapitated, making him and Kidomaru panic and run until they reached the forest, only for the Spider Boy to get pierced through the heart by a hand of water and lightning. "Well, still alive, I see, Uchiha," Naruto said, amused at his prey's attempt to outrun him. What he doesn't know is that he has a Hiraishin seal placed on his head. Sasuke would have spoken if a white-haired teenager tried to attack Naruto only to get explode in blood and gore, making the Uchiha air vomit. To see Naruto look at the death with calm eyes, he took that chance to use his curse seal to move faster toward the Valley of the End. "Going somewhere, Sasuke?" Naruto said coldly, looking behind him to see the black-haired teen looking down on him like a bug that needs to be squashed, only to roar in rage before charging at him with a Chidori blazing in its glory. Only to scream in pain as Naruto absorbed the lightning before redirecting it in his body, electrocuting him till he was nothing but a charred corpse. He suddenly heard a scream of fury. "Die! Damon! Raikiri!" Kakshi's voice shouted in midair with an insane look in his eyes, only for Naruto to point his finger at him with a black glowing orb on his finger. "Sero," Naruto said before a black and red outlined beam shot from his finger, engulfing the Hitaki in blackness, turning his body to ashes instantly with nothing left. "Pwned bitch," Naruto muttered before turning his head to see an orange masked man wearing the Akatsuki cloak. "Your days are numbered, Akatsuki, know that I will be watching," Naruto said darkly before vanishing in a sea-whirling vortex, only to get a roar of fury from the masked man. "Damn you, Uzumaki!" The man roared to the heavens, only to get mocking laughter, making him even more furious. Even now the brat mocks him relentlessly. Konoha West Gate. Many people, civilians and ninja alike, awaited Naruto and a few others at the gate. Most of the ones waiting arrogantly thought that the demon brat would bring Sasuke-sama back perfectly intact without a scratch marring his perfect body. Kaide. Gay much? Many scooted away from the clearly deranged civilians and ninja. Kushina stood calmly with a serene, patient look on her face, as did Gaia, Kuritsuchi, Neji, Sume and Yugo, along with a contingent of their personal Anbu. "Why so many Anbu at the gate?" Kushina explained at how she felt that the Uchiha supporters were going to try something very stupid, as she knew her Soichi-kun-sama wouldn't bring the last loyal Uchiha back alive, nor would the one-eyed asshole Hitaki come back alive, and concluded both had been killed by the demon prince himself. She smirked, as did Naruto's other mates or fiancés, cheering inwardly at the fact another two shit stains were wiped off the face of the earth. Naruto-sama has erased Hitaki Teme and Uchiha Baka in a small amount of time, it seems. Anko said through the newly discovered telepathic link from the mate mark Naruto gave after he gave them an Uzumaki Namikaze-style fucking to remember. Makoto-chan will be sad her son has been removed from the physical plane of existence, but she'll get over it soon. Kushina stated with not a touch of remorse at the death of the problem child of the Uchiha. Inwardly she cackled with glee at the fact they'd have no more interruptions from Hitaki and his faggot Uchiha student. Yes, such a shame, such an accomplished young genin's life has been cut short so suddenly, Yugo continued calmly, but Kushina, Anko and the others heard the sadistic mocking tone underneath, and they all smirked or snickered in amusement. Naruto-kun could have brought him back for us to torture at least. Gaia pouted childishly through the link, earning roaring laughter from Anko, Kushina and Yugo. Hinata and the others sweat dropped, laughing awkwardly at the mental insane cackling and laughter. Honestly, they have no shame. Neji said, rolling her eyes, ignoring the pout from Anko, and her eyes lit up when she saw Naruto approaching with a bored look with a fair bit of blood caked on the right side of his face. Wrapped around his arms were two redheads that made Kushina raise an eyebrow in interest and curiosity. Kushina Okawa-chan, I have two Uzumakis with me seeking asylum. Can you get one of the Anbu to call Tsunade Daibo and Sarutobi Oji-sama here? Kushina motioned her head to one of the Anbu, who lent her ear as the Red Death muttered silently. With a nod, the horse-masked Anbu sunshined in a small burst of wind. Naruto took note of the expectant-looking shinobi and civilians glaring at him, only to get a narrow-eyed glare in return, flickering with demonic intent. Clearly this must have been planned if these fools are acting out so openly, knowing how much support and clout I have. Yeah, I sense something else at work here. Something divine or demonic. Whoever it is. His left eye flashed into his dujutsu maliciously and furiously. I'll show them my displeasure at thinking these humans can make me freaking cower and submit. He growled in his chest. Stopping quite a ways from the gate, he mentally used his most favorite jutsu. With a displacement of air came a shadow clone. Taiyu-chan, Karen-chan, go with my clone. I do not want you to be in the crossfire. Go now. He ordered urgently. The two redheads looked at each other and then him with an unsure, worried look. Be safe, Naruto-kun-sama, I feel I have much to look towards with you. Karen said shyly with concern. Naruto's eyes softened, as did Tayuya and his shadow clone. Don't worry about Boss-sama. SC Naruto grinned at his creator, who smirked in amusement and fondness at his clone's confidence. Nothing, and I mean no obstacle or roadblock, is unpassable when it comes to him. The clone leapt off with Karen and Tayuya in tow. The two redheads gave him glances, begging him to come back to them alive. I promise I won't disappoint you, Karen. Taiyu. These pests are going to learn their play here and now. Naruto saw the glares deepen at the lack of their Uchiha-sama and started cracking their knuckles. In response, Naruto boredly rolled his shoulders and cracked his neck side to side, slowly getting his blood flowing and ready. Where is the Uchiha brat? One bald-headed chunin demanded pompously, only getting a cold stare from Yugo to shut his trap. Surprisingly, the weakling had some self-preservation instincts. I dealt with the Uchiha and his backstabbing sensei like all traitors should be. What else? Naruto shrugged in unconcern at the fact, admitting that he murdered the two helpless whelps with no remorse. Silence. Before the civilians and shinobi began spitting nails. You bastard, do you realize what you've done? You murdered Uchiha-sama. Sasuke-kun, you've been getting too high and mighty for me to stomach, you little demon shit. Let's get this piece of shit demon, guys. Yeah, let's execute him. No one can stop this, many of us. Naruto's face stayed impassive at the slew of death threats and weak ki blasted at him before putting his fist in his open palm, and then crack, pop. A few flinched when Naruto cracked and popped his knuckles as a black-red tinged like flame aura slowly flowed around him. You little pieces of shit are nothing but ants that I step on daily. You think I am the same kid you used to chase and try to kill like an animal? Not anymore. I'm the fucking predator here, and if you got balls, make sure you got the strength to back up your threats, or else I'll tear you all apart like I should have done. Naruto growled, showing his slowly extending fangs. His eyelids gained black circles, followed by the eyes turning blood red with black sclera with branched out blood red veins. A woman scoffed. She had messy strawberry blonde hair and red eyes. That somehow made Naruto's eyes narrow at her, and sniffed briefly only to smell the stench of Makai on this wench. Boys, bring me this boy. I haven't had a toy to break in yet. I would have went after the Hyuga heiress, but she's too protected thanks to this child thinking he's all big and grown. The bitch continued looking at Naruto when she said, boy, but his pupils dilated widely when his mind came to the conclusion of what this whore would have had Hinata go through. What did you just say you were going to do to my Hinata? Naruto's voice came out as a demonically cold, slow drawl growing into a snarl. Suddenly his top ripped slightly, his body grew in bulk and height. His hair, much to Kushina's shock, began gaining slowly, a few streaks of bright green slowly floating upwards. Naruto gritted his teeth tightly as the earth started to shake and rumble. You can threaten me, you can call me a bastard, and I wouldn't give a damn. He growled out in a more ferocious demon voice. His arms bulged with tensed muscle. The flame-like aura around him intensified with an inhuman roar, causing a shockwave to lash out, knocking several people over. Naruto? His eyes turned to a white-on-red pupilless glow. The streaks then were joined by ominous light red and magma orange streaks. His hair grew in length into a mane that went over his shoulders, sparking with black and red lightning. But when you threaten my mates, my loved ones, is the day you pay with your existence. A crimson-red tail suddenly sprouted from above his tailbone, causing Kushina's eyes to widen in utter shock and realization, and also fear. Dragon Ball Z, Super Saiyan God Broly theme. Hee ha 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 ha. Yes, this power is so euphoric. Naruto threw his head back, laughing darkly. His body bulged even more and his height went up to 7 feet 3 with steel-hard muscles. His shirt lay in tatters around him. What is this demon sorcery? The bitch screeched in terror, inwardly praying for her mistress to come save her, only getting a wide-fanged grin of insanity. Oh no, Tilda, there's no way that's gonna be able to save you from me. Out here I am God now. Beams of light arced out as Naruto's aura turned flame blood red and became more wild, causing trees to shatter, earth to crack and wind to howl. I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, descendant of the ancestor to the Uzumaki clan, the monster known as Broly. Naruto's voice twisted into a mix of his own and another's. Kushina gasped. It's true. Broly is our clan's ancestor, not the Rikudo Sennin? But where did our longevity come from? Kushina snapped from her thoughts when Naruto's chakra and another wild energy began rising, and rising. Attack him already, you imbeciles. Don't let his power get any higher. The woman now had snake-like features and even a tail, waving in fear and anxiety under her sluttish dress. The mob charged at Naruto with roars, weapons and jutsus flying, only to get a dark, cold smirk in return, and before their eyes a wide sphere of red appeared around Naruto that caused the attacks to disperse harmlessly against the barrier. Time for some fun. Naruto cackled and touched the ground and charged straight towards them like a speeding wrecking ball. Doden. Doryuheki. Naruto simply grinned wider, eyes glowing brighter, and simply smashed through the barrier with a bang. Opening his palm, red electricity crackled before a beam of red energy blasted forward, arcing with black lightning. Full power energy wave. Boom. Ha 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 ha. Is that all? Now you are all dead. No big surprise at that, ha 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 ha. Naruto flared his power even higher, unknowingly catching the attention of his other kin. Far, far away in another part of the galaxy, a few people were sparring, suddenly stopped, looking up with shock. Is that power? It feels like that of our previous Saiyan God state, and it's like. The women with the spiked up hair had ashen skin. Broly. Lord Beerus, might I inquire we make haste and bring the other warriors to assess the threat? An anthro-looking purple-skinned cat spoke up with a glimmer of interest in her gold-slitted eyes. Yes, Vegeta. Let us pay this potential Super Saiyan God a visit. And I think we should make haste. I have a feeling the other gods and goddesses are just now noticing this being right at this moment. This time a blue-skinned female spoke up with a chipper, upbeat tone. Surprisingly, this one's power feels like it's both wild yet tightly controlled. Most interesting. The female known as Whis spoke with a gleam of interest, earning a similar one from the shorter cat woman. Indeed, sensei, I want to fight him and see if this one can surpass me. Let us move. Whis, let's go. Whis nodded with a smile as the only man named Goku, along with Verena and Lady Beerus. Very well, Lady Beerus, we shall depart now, and hold on to your hats, hee. Whis smirked as the group became engulfed in cerulean cloak of energy before vanishing with a flash of a blue light pillar.
That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, share and do comments.